After becoming rich, I raised a female emperor in ancient times. Xu Qing opened a small shop, but he didn't expect an ancient female general in bright red military uniform to come. Chapter 1. Ding Dong. Hello, welcome. At midnight. In a small convenience store in the old district of Beijing City, the doorbell rang as a customer arrived. Xu Qing was feeling a bit drowsy, leaning on the counter without even lifting his head. Feel free to browse, just come to the counter when you're ready to pay. No movement. No sound. Xu Qing glanced up and froze. The customer was a woman dressed in a bright red military uniform. She had a tall and upright figure, wearing a red tasseled helmet, with a long sword hanging from her waist. Her face was sharp, her eyes bright as stars, as though she were a female warrior riding into battle. She radiated an incomparable sense of authority and charm. However, her face was pale as paper, her lips cracked, and she looked worn out and exhausted. Was she here for a movie shoot? Or maybe she was cosplaying? Xu Qing didn't think too much about it, smiling. You're quite dedicated, huh? In weather like this, aren't you hot in that outfit? Zhao Xuning glanced at Xu Qing, quickly shifting her gaze elsewhere, her cheeks slightly flushed. This man was quite handsome, but his attire was so strange and revealing, exposing his arms and thighs. This store was also quite bizarre. The shelves were filled with colorful bags, some decorated with illustrations of shrimp, fish, and more, so vivid they were almost lifelike, better than the best painters of the Song dynasty. What was this? Good choice. And what about Wei Long spicy strips? The more she looked, the weirder it seemed. Zhao Xuning had been on patrol in Lingxiao City when she suddenly found a strange alley, with towering walls on both sides, not a single house in sight. When she reached the end of the alley, she accidentally stepped on air and crashed into a wall. Then, she passed right through the wall and ended up in this strange store. Everything here was unfamiliar and unheard of. Xu Qing noticed she hadn't said anything and asked again, "Is there something you want to buy?" Do you have any food here?" Zhao Xuning asked tentatively. Of course, Xu Qing pointed to the snacks on the shelf like biscuits, fries, instant noodles, and so on. See, these are all here. These? Zhao Xuning asked, do you have bin cakes? Bin cakes? Xu Qing was startled, shaking his head. No. What about bran? No. Rice bran? Also no. Even though she knew they probably wouldn't have it, Zhao Xuning's face showed clear signs of disappointment. Bin cakes, bran, and rice bran were commonly used to feed chickens, ducks, pigs, and geese. A small convenience store wouldn't have those. Xu Qing felt a bit speechless, pointing to a bag of open rice and asking, "What are you planning to use it for? Would rice work?" Rice? This was just ordinary rice. Full, hard grains, white and transparent in color. This was the kind only royal families and nobles could afford. Zhao Xuning gently stroked the rice, as if in a dream. She hadn't even seen this in years, let alone eaten it, and she was completely stunned. Xu Qing asked, "So, will this rice work?" "Yes, it's perfect, but this must be really expensive, right?" "Normal price. $3 per pound, 50 pounds per bag, that's $150. How much?" Zhao Xuning unconsciously raised her voice. Xu Qing coughed, "If you buy more, I can give you a discount." "A discount? $150, that must be 150 yuan, right? That's incredibly cheap." Zhao Xuning said excitedly, "How many bags of rice do you have?" "I'll take them all." "All of them?" Xu Qing was startled. "Yes. I only have 2 bags now. You can give me $280. If you want more, I can restock tomorrow." "Okay." Zhao Xuning casually threw a honeycomb-shaped silver ingot, no change needed. "Restock more, I'll come back again." "That quick?" Xu Qing was momentarily stunned, but by the time he recovered, Zhao Xuning had already picked up the 2 bags of rice and was heading toward the back door. "No, the back door is a dead end, I've blocked it off, you can't get out." Whoosh! In the blink of an eye, Zhao Xuning vanished as if she were a Taoist priest from Mount Lao, disappearing through the back door, leaving Xu Qing frozen in place, his hair standing on end. How is that possible? Is she a person or a ghost? Xu Qing stood there for a few minutes, before grabbing the silver ingot from the counter. It looked like soap, curved at both ends with a waist in the middle, and the front had the inscription Ba Dong Street South, Yao Chilan Craftsman, 25 Liang. The back was covered with honeycomb-shaped holes, and it felt a bit heavy in his hand. What is this? Shu Qing wasn't sure, but it seemed like it could be worth something. Now, he couldn't be bothered to stay at the store. He grabbed the ingot and took a cab to the antique street. He walked from shop to shop. Only a small, inconspicuous antique shop at the end of the street was still open. Shu Qing walked in, smiling. "Boss, I was cleaning my old house today and found this silver ingot. Can you take a look?" "I'll have a look." The boss, surnamed Fang, was a young man with a refined appearance, wearing glasses. He took the silver ingot, inspected it for a moment, and his face immediately turned serious. "This is a Southern Song silver ingot. It's a pity it's quite damaged, so it's not worth much, but it has some historical value." Shu Qing asked, "How much can you offer?" "If you're willing to sell, I can offer this much." Boss Fang extended his thumb and index finger. 800. Shu Qing's heart skipped a beat. That seemed like a decent deal. 8,000, that's the highest I can offer. Deal. Ding dong. The $8,000 were transferred. Shu Qing walked out of the antique store, still in disbelief, never imagining the Southern Song silver ingot was real. The 2 bags of rice had cost just over $200, meaning he had made a profit of over $7,000 in one go. It seemed like getting rich overnight wasn't a dream. What's more, that female ghost said she'd come back. So, should he restock? Restock more? Or even more? Go for it, a bicycle could turn into a motorcycle. Take a gamble, and a motorcycle could turn into a Range Rover. He didn't believe it could a female ghost be more terrifying than a poor one? Shu Qing decisively made a call to have 50 bags of rice delivered from the wholesale grain market tomorrow morning. Cash on delivery. The person on the other end immediately perked up and promised to deliver it. Shu Qing lit a cigarette, with a mix of excitement, nervousness, anticipation, and worry. He wasn't sure if that female ghost would come back. Chapter 2. Shu Qing felt like he was dreaming. Zhao Xuning felt the same way, unsure if it was real. She turned around to check, but the dead-end alley was still there, with no signs of anything unusual. Never mind. Zhao Xuning didn't want to think about it too much and hurried back to the palace. Pang Chong. Pang Chong. As she walked inside, Zhao Xuning called out. Soon, the exhausted Pang Chong ran over and asked, "Princess, what's the matter?" Zhao Xuning placed the 2 bags of rice on the ground, and immediately, several soldiers gathered around. "Notify the kitchen right away, cook some porridge with a large pot, and let all the soldiers eat with me." Porridge? Pang Chong and the soldiers froze for a moment, then immediately became excited. After the Battle of Yushan, the Southern Song dynasty was completely destroyed. Now, only Lingxiao City was still resisting the Mongol army, having been besieged and attacked for 9 years. The people of Lingxiao City had run out of grass and tree bark, and in some areas, there had even been cases of cannibalism. Zhao Xuning, the only daughter of the 5th emperor of the Southern Song, Emperor Zhao Yun, the princess of Qing, had discovered rice. Rice. It was real rice. The grains were plump and translucent. The soldiers, who had long been starving, were nearly overwhelmed with hunger, ready to grab handfuls of raw rice and stuff it into their mouths. However, they restrained themselves, some even looking away to avoid losing control. Soon, a pot of porridge was ready, and Pang Chong personally brought it in. The porridge was neither too thick nor too thin, emitting a delicious rice fragrance that immediately captivated all the soldiers. Each soldier received a bowl. They ate slowly, taking small bites. Though it didn't fill them up, it tasted so good. They licked their bowls clean. After a while, they reluctantly set their bowls down, closing their eyes as if still savoring the wonderful taste. "You all look so pathetic." Zhao Xuning felt a pang of sadness. The soldiers of Changning and the common folk of Lingxiao City had suffered too much from the lack of water and food. Pang Chong and the soldiers all smiled broadly. Zhao Xuning then distributed 10 or so small bags of rice, giving each soldier one, and said in a deep voice, "Your families haven't had a single grain of rice in a long time. Take these home to them now." "That's not possible. Let the soldiers of Qing eat this rice." "Yes, we're already satisfied with just having porridge." The soldiers all knelt, refusing with tears in their eyes. Zhao Xuning sternly said, I order you to take this rice home to your families. In 2 hours, if there is nothing else, we will send all the rice to the kitchen to cook porridge for the soldiers. That was incredibly generous. Pang Chong urgently said, Princess, we can't do this. We can't go from one meal to the next like this. Zhao Xuning smiled. What is the problem? This rice is from a shop in the city. We can gather more people and buy more. This. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. Pang Chong exclaimed, Princess, we've lived in Lingxiao City for so many years, and we know every street and alley. How come I've never heard of this shop? Exactly. Deputy Commander Zhang Tingji said worriedly, Princess, this shop, we've never seen or heard of it. I think there is something unreliable about this. Unreliable? Zhao Xuning scanned the soldiers and asked, Now, our soldiers in Changning are starving, and we can't even find grass roots or tree bark. Do you have any solutions? Pang Chong, Zhang Tingji, and the other soldiers immediately fell silent. Zhao Xuning immediately ordered, Now, everyone go gather silver. Later, Pang Chong will come with me to buy more rice. Yes. The soldiers answered and turned to leave. Before long, Zhao Xuning and Pang Chong, along with a team of people, walked out from the palace. Along the way, they saw citizens lying on the ground, barely clothed, their faces gaunt and their eyes vacant. Their bellies were swollen, as they had been surviving on the Guanyin earth food. There were women who had sold their children, not asking for money, only hoping their children wouldn't starve to death. There were grandmothers with torn clothes and unkempt hair, cutting pieces of meat from their own thighs to feed their granddaughters. It was heart-wrenching. Zhao Xuning and Pang Chong's hearts were torn with grief. No matter what, they had to hold on. Once Lingxiao City fell, the massacre by the Mongol army would mean certain death for everyone. The only hope was to buy more food, at least to keep the citizens from starving. Soon, they arrived at the dead-end alley. This was it. Where was the shop? Pang Chong looked around again, but the alley was empty, with nothing in sight. He asked, Princess, where is the shop you mentioned? Zhao Xuning pointed to the wall at the end of the alley and loudly said, It's right there. Princess, this is just a wall. There should be a secret door here. Follow me. With the experience from before, Zhao Xuning didn't hesitate and walked toward the wall. Bam! Her head hit the wall. Luckily, she was wearing a helmet, or she would have surely injured herself. This time, not only Pang Chong, but even Zhao Xuning herself was stunned. It had worked before, why wasn't it working now? Had she been doing it wrong? Zhao Xuning looked around, recalling the previous scene. She deliberately stepped on air and threw her body against the wall again. No. No. She tried again and again, but it didn't work. Pang Chong was now frightened and urgently said, Princess, you can't keep doing this. This is just a wall. Princess. All the soldiers of Changning knelt on the ground. Zhao Xuning coldly said, Go back now. Princess. I said go back. Yes. Pang Chong and the soldiers of Changning didn't dare defy her order and turned to leave. Now, Zhao Xuning was left alone, continuing to slam herself into the wall. If only she had bought more. After finally seeing a glimmer of hope, Zhao Xuning didn't want to let it fade away like a bubble. She had to find that shop again, no matter what. However, at that moment, Qing was at an esports hotel, playing Black Myth, Wukong all night, completely unaware of the events in his shop. Ji Hu Yuan. Guangji. Yuhan. Ling Shuzi. Qing played until dawn. The grain and oil wholesale market called to say the rice had arrived, and he quickly rushed back. Lao Liang, a longtime collaborator, asked, Xiaoshu, why do you need so much rice? Do you have a big client? Nope. He couldn't exactly tell them it was for a ghost, right? Qing smiled, I saw on the news the other day that there was flooding in some places, so I thought I'd donate some rice. You've got a good heart, huh? I'll knock off $5 per bag for you. Thanks. I'll pay cash. Just like that. The two of them swiftly unloaded the rice. Once all the bags were unloaded, Qing opened the roll-up door and walked into the shop. Whoosh! A red figure suddenly lunged at him, crashing into his arms. Chapter 3. What's going on? Qing was startled. Zhao Xuning reacted quickly and stepped back a few paces, saying, You're here. I came to buy rice. In just one night, Zhao Xuning looked terribly disheveled. She had collided with walls over and over again, and the red tassel on her helmet had been knocked off. Her eyes were bloodshot. The soldiers were all scared, doubting whether the princess had lost her mind. After all, it was just a wall, how could there be a store? This matter was critical to the survival of Lingxiao City and the lives of all the Longning army and the people. Zhao Xuning could not give up. Heaven, have mercy. She had been crashing into walls from the early morning until the third hour, but finally, she had broken through. Xu Qing sized her up and asked in surprise, Why are you here in broad daylight? Aren't you afraid of the sun? What is there to be afraid of? Zhao Xuning placed a ragged cloth bag on the counter and asked, How many bags of rice can I buy with this? The cloth bag opened, revealing some silver coins, copper coins, and 2 silver ingots, larger and better than last time. Xu Qing's eyes widened. He took a few deep breaths and asked, I only have 50 bags of rice today. Can you take them all? 50 bags? Sure. Zhao Xuning's eyes lit up, and she cautiously asked, Could you prepare more tomorrow? 1,000 bags. Xu Qing didn't hesitate. No problem. If it's convenient for you, come by early in the morning. Convenient, then let's settle it like that. All right. The rice is outside our shop. Could you help me move it? Sure. The shop's door was wide open, and one could immediately see the bags of rice piled up outside. Zhao Xuning nodded and immediately went over. Boom. Although there was a path, she seemed to crash into an invisible wall, unable to get through. Xu Qing suddenly realized that, no matter how strong the ghost's power was, she couldn't move freely under the sunlight. Still, she had paid such a large sum of money. Xu Qing told her to sit inside while he moved the rice bags in, one by one. However, every time he brought one bag in through the front, she would move one out through the back. In the dead-end alley, Pang Chong, Zhang Tingji, and the other soldiers were worried that Zhao Xuning might encounter an accident and returned. She kept crashing into the wall, but no matter how much they tried to stop her, she wouldn't listen. Suddenly, Zhao Xuning disappeared before their eyes. What's going on? Pang Chong and Zhang Tingji were stunned. They quickly rushed over to knock on the wall, but there was no response. It's over. The princess is gone. The soldiers were completely terrified. They rushed to grab hoes and hammers, trying to break the wall open. Whoosh! Zhao Xuning appeared with a bag of rice, asking, What are you doing? Huh! Pang Chong exclaimed in shock. Princess, where did you go just now? It's that shop. Come inside and help me move the rice, but don't destroy this wall. Shop? Where? Pang Chong, Zhang Tingji, and the other soldiers banged against the wall but couldn't get in. Zhao Xuning moved the rice back and forth 2 more times and realized that this wall, only she could pass through easily. No one else could. The bags of rice piled up on the ground. The soldiers gaped in shock. Do you think this could be an illusion? How could it be? The rice on the ground is real. Then, there must be a deity on the other side. Enough. The soldiers kept discussing. Zhao Xuning moved another bag of rice out and loudly said, Everyone listen, set up large pots at the vegetable market, drum tower, horse riding platform, and the drill ground in Lingxiao City. Set up porridge booths and cook porridge for the people. Princess. Pang Chong wanted to say something but stopped. Do as I say. Zhao Xuning's face held a slight smile, but her tone was incredibly commanding. Yes. The soldiers responded and immediately got busy. The 50 bags of rice were quickly moved out. Xu Qing felt a bit guilty, so he gave Zhao Xuning 2 boxes of luncheon meat cans. Zhao Xuning asked, What's this? Here. Xu Qing opened a can of luncheon meat. It could be eaten directly, used in cooking, or cooked in porridge. Can it be added to porridge? What else could she say? Zhao Xuning took it all and instructed people to deliver the luncheon meat to the porridge booths across the city. Princess has set up porridge booths. Princess has set up porridge booths. Longning soldiers rode horses, spreading the word. All the common folk held tokens, lined up to get their porridge, while Longning soldiers maintained order. Soon, pots of porridge were ready. The luncheon meat mixed with the rice grains, bubbling in the pots. The aroma of the porridge wafted in all directions. Taking a sip, it had a salty taste, indescribably delicious. Gradually, more and more people joined the line. Each person got a bowl, and if it ran out, they could queue again. The porridge kept coming. The people kept coming. While the common folk still couldn't fill their bellies, at least they wouldn't starve to death. Xu Qing wasn't idle either. He put the silver coins and the 2 silver ingots into his bag. As for the copper coins, he took 1 each from the 4 types Jianyang Tongbao, Shexing Tongbao, Da Song Yuanbao, and Jierding Fengbao and rushed straight to the antique shop. The shopkeeper, Fang Siyuan, quickly stood up and greeted him warmly. "Brother, you're here. Please, sit. No need to trouble yourself. Just tell me how much these are worth." Xu Qing casually tossed the items onto the counter. Carefully. Fang Siyuan winced, afraid they might get knocked or damaged. After a careful inspection, the 2 silver ingots were much better than the last ones, almost perfect. Fang Siyuan asked, "These are Southern Song Dynasty Jingxiao silver ingots with 5 stamps and 12.5 taels of silver. I can offer you 40,000 for each. What do you think? What about these for copper coins?" Xu Qing asked calmly. "Let me see." Jianyang Tongbao and Shexing Tongbao were common Southern Song copper coins, worth about 100 each. However, Da Song Yuanbao and Jierding Fengbao were different. Da Song Yuanbao was a rare coin from the Southern Song dynasty, worth around 70,000, and Jierding Fengbao was even rarer. Its inscription, Jierding Fengbao, in regular script and the Quan Wu inscription on the back made it potentially worth a fortune. Fang Siyuan couldn't make up his mind and asked, "Brother, I'm not sure about this copper coin. How about this? Give me a contact number, and I'll take a few photos and ask my grandfather. We can discuss it over the phone." "Sure. Today, let's focus on these silver ingots, copper coins, and the ingots. These 2 silver ingots are 80,000, and the 3 copper coins are 70,000. As for the silver coins, I'll round it up to 170,000. Is that okay?" "Sure. A 50-kilogram bag of rice costs 125 yuan. 1,000 bags would be 125,000 yuan. Not counting the remaining copper coins, this would still net a profit of 45,000 yuan pure profit. In the face of money, what's a ghost?" Xu Qing walked out of the antique shop and immediately called Liang from the grain wholesale market. He spoke in a grand tone, "I need 1,000 bags of rice. Get them to me before dark, and I'll pay in cash." Chapter 4. 1,000 bags of rice. Lao Liang from the grain and oil wholesale market was shocked. To be honest, it was Xu Qing who was so conscious and caring that he donated so much at once. Before dark, 1,000 bags of rice were in place, and he even helped move all of them to the store. After seeing Lao Liang off, Xu Qing immediately closed the shop door. Now, Zhao Xuning is the biggest customer of the store. She always comes in through the back door anyway, and Xu Qing doesn't want anyone to see her and cause unnecessary trouble. Ding dong. "Hello, welcome." As soon as midnight arrived, the doorbell rang on time. Zhao Xuning suddenly appeared in front of Xu Qing. When she saw the mountain of rice, she was surprised and excited. With this rice, the people of Qining Army and Lingxiao City will no longer starve. Xu Qing smiled and said, "How are they? Are these okay?" "Can." Zhao Xuning walked back and forth a few times and asked, "How much food can you transfer in a day at most? Who do you look down on?" Xu Qing said arrogantly, "As long as the money is in place, we can give you as much as you want." "Is there any flour?" "Yes, quite a bit." "Then I need 2,000 bags of rice, 1,000 bags of flour, and that luncheon meat tomorrow. Give me 200 boxes. Wow. Even though he was mentally prepared, Xu Qing was still shocked. This guy is really bold. He wants so much food just by opening his mouth. Is this the legendary nonsense? Ding. Zhao Xuning threw a cloth bag onto the counter. "Here, this is the deposit. 100 taels of gold. When the goods arrive at noon the next day, I will give you another 100 taels of gold." Gold? Under the light, the 4 gold ingots emit a golden glow, which is extremely eye-catching. This kind of gold ingot is the same as the silver ingot, which is thin in the middle and wide at both ends. The 2 ends are also flat, with a slight depression in the middle. There is an inscription on the surface that reads, "Weight 25 taels. Xiong Wulang?" 10 cents of gold, which is definitely worth a lot of money. Shu Qing weighed it and asked curiously, I don't quite understand. Don't you ghosts eat incense? Why do you need so much food? What? Do you think I'm a ghost? Zhao Xuning asked in disbelief, narrowing her eyes. That's right. The back wall of our store is sealed, but you can pass through it freely. This. Zhao Xuning looked around and asked, what about you? Are you a deity? Immortal? Har har. Shu Qing smiled and said, I would like to be a god, but how is that possible? Well, one is not a ghost. One is not God. Shu Qing swallowed his saliva and said in a deep voice, I think we should have a frank talk. Well, wait for me for a moment. I'll move all the food out. Good. How long will it take to move them bag by bag like this? Shu Qing got 2 carts and loaded and pulled the rice out at the same time. Soon all 1,000 bags of rice were moved out. When Zhao Xuning came back, the two of them sat together. My name is Shu Qing. My name is Zhao Xuning. I am Princess Changning, the only daughter of the 5th emperor of the Southern Song dynasty, Emperor Lizong of Song, Zhao Yun. After the Battle of Yishan, the Southern Song dynasty was completely destroyed. Now only Lingxiao city is left to fight against the Mongolian cavalry. It has not been easy over the years. With no money or food, the only thing to be thankful for is that there are 2 wells on the top of Lingxiao Peak. But now the water level has dropped and the wells are almost dry. The two fell into silence. After a while, Shu Qing asked, what year are you in now? December of the 10th year of Xiangxing in the Southern Song dynasty. What year was Xiangxing? Let me check. It's 1287. Let me look up the history of Lingxiao city. Shu Qing immediately searched on Baidu. In 1288, Lingxiao city was breached in the final fierce battle. All the soldiers and civilians defending the city died in battle and no one surrendered. Dead? All dead. Moreover, it is only a little over a month away from the fall of the city. Zhao Xuning bit her lip tightly, fearless, since ancient times, everyone has to die. I will leave my loyalty to history. The Changning army swears to live and die with Lingxiao city. It's tragic indeed. Shu Qing took a few deep breaths and asked, so, only you can enter this back door, and no one else can? Yes, but you must be in the store. How many soldiers and civilians do you have in Lingxiao city now? 3,000 soldiers and 40,000 civilians. There was another silence. Zhao Xuning looked at Shu Qing and asked, you just said that your country has a population of 1.4 billion. Yes. Can you all have enough food, warm clothes, and live in a house like this? Yes. Your country does fight wars? Yes. This is simply a critical hit. Zhao Xuning said bitterly, you are so lucky. This is my big financial sponsor. Shu Qing advised, you must cheer up, if not for anything else, there are still 40,000 people in Lingxiao city. Anyway, whatever you need, I have it here. But your gold ingots must be authentic. That way I can get food, otherwise I can't accommodate you here. What's the meaning? Zhao Xuning raised her eyebrows, her eyes cold and stern. This is our Southern Song dynasty official silver. If it's not genuine, I will cut off my head and use it as a chamber pot for you. Why so bloody? I don't want your head, I just don't want to do business with you. Snort. Zhao Xuning bowed, turned around and disappeared behind the wall. This woman. He kept shouting for war and killing, which scared Shu Qing so much that his hair stood on end. Never mind. Shu Qing didn't care about anything else and immediately took a taxi to the antique shop. Fang Siyuan's eyes lit up, and he quickly asked, brother, what good stuff did you bring today? There was also a grey-haired, unkempt old man in the store who looked a little familiar. Now, he was wearing reading glasses and looking at a photo with a magnifying glass. It was the Jiarding Fengbao copper coin that Fang Siyuan had photographed last time. Shu Qing smiled and asked, who is this? Fang Siyuan said proudly, he is my grandfather Fang Daqian, one of the few experts in antiques in our country. He is also an authoritative expert in programs such as Huashan Luanjian, treasure hunting, and national collection. No wonder. Shu Qing asked, Mr. Fang, what do you think of this copper coin? Grandpa, this copper coin belongs to him. Oh. Fang Daqian immediately became alert and asked, can you show me the copper coin? Sure. Shu Qing placed the Jiarding seal on the table. Take a look and smell it. There is no earthy smell, and just like the previous Southern Song Dynasty silver ingots, it does not look like a funerary object, but rather like one that has been played with frequently. It is smooth and round, without even a trace of copper rust, which is truly precious. After a while, Fang Daqian put down the copper coin and said solemnly, "Among the Southern Song Dynasty Jirding iron coins, Jirding Fongbao, Jirding Longbao, Jirding Quanbao, and Jirding Dabao are all rare items among Jirding miscellaneous treasures. Among them, Long, Quan, and Da have not been unearthed for a long time, and Fongbao has never been found in person. This Jirding seal with a 5-digit back is extremely rare and worth millions." "How many? Million?" Shu Qing was startled, and put another gold ingot on the table, and asked, "Then take a look, is this valuable?" "Weighing 25 taels. Xiong Wulang? 10 cents of gold. This is a 25 liang gold ingot from the Southern Song Dynasty. Only high-ranking officials and nobles use gold ingots for transactions. There are very few of them circulating in the market. I weighed it, it weighs 931 grams. From a historical and collection point of view, 1 gram is worth 1,000 yuan." Fang Daqian asked excitedly, "Will you sell it? Can I give you 1 million for this gold ingot?" "Can." Shu Qing took out 3 more gold ingots and placed them on the table. "I have 3 more gold ingots." Hiss. Fang Daqian and Fang Siyuan gasped and were completely shocked. Chapter 5. A Jiarding seal with the inscription Quan Wu on the back and for Southern Song Dynasty gold ingots of 25 taels were placed on the table in a row. "Usually, I can't see even one." Fang Daqian and Fang Siyuan's eyes widened and they were completely dumbfounded. "A full 5 million. After Shu Qing left, Fang Siyuan smiled bitterly and said, "Grandpa, this is an antique shop, you can't charge according to the market price." "Market price? Can you buy copper coins and gold ingots of such perfect quality in the market? This is not a local farmer's item, nor is it shipped by water. It seems to have been collected by someone for 1,000 or 800 years. It is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity." Even Fang Daqian suspected that Shu Qing must have a lot of items in his hands. Fang Daqian sat there, examining the gold ingots and copper coins carefully. The more he looked at them, the more he liked them. Shu Qing was happy, worried, and somewhat guilty. In just over a month, Lingxiao City will be breached and massacred by the Mongolian army, leaving no one alive. That's more than 40,000 people. As for whether his source of income has been cut off, a good young man of the new era like Shu Qing, who has ideals, dares to take responsibility, is able to endure hardships and is willing to work hard, dared to swear to the lamp that he really didn't take it to heart. Shu Qing is not sleepy at all now. He is frantically placing orders on his mobile phone for same-city delivery. Scheduled time, 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. Delivery address, Xinguang Store, Xingfu Road, Old Town. 2,000 bags of rice, 1,000 bags of flour, and 200 boxes of luncheon meat. What are these? Zhao Xuning gave 5 million. Shu Qing immediately placed an order for 200,000 steamed buns, at 0.70 yuan each. Total, 140,000. 500 cartons of eggs, 50 eggs per carton, 40 yuan per carton. Total, 20,000. He also placed orders for 200 boxes of noodles, 500 boxes of instant noodles, 100 boxes of pickled mustard tubers, 100 barrels of oil, 100 boxes of salt. In short, Shu Qing ordered as much as he could think of. From now on, the convenience store will no longer do business for other people, but only serve big money sponsors. As for the things in the store, Shu Qing had to get rid of them and clear out the store. That's right. Since Zhao Xuning can come to him, can he go to Zhao Xuning's place? This idea is so bold. Shu Qing took a deep breath and tried to put his hand against the wall, but his fist actually went straight into the wall as if there was nothing there. Is this okay? Shu Qing was so excited that he slammed into the wall with all his strength. Bang! The wall was still a wall. He fell to the ground on the spot. It was useless. Only his fists could get in. Never mind. Where is that thing? He grabbed a bottle of mineral water and threw it towards the wall. As a result, an incredible scene happened. It was clearly a wall, but it seemed like it was thrown into the air and disappeared in an instant. Har har! Shu Qing was like Columbus discovering the new world. He simply threw away the shelves and pushed all the things against the wall. It wasn't until around 4 in the morning that the store was cleared out. Is this enough? Absolutely not. Xu Qing immediately called the manufacturer of the flatbed carts and ordered 300 carts with cash to be delivered immediately. Soon, row after row of them were placed in the store. As soon as the sky brightened, Xu Qing rode his electric bike to the morning wholesale market. There are many vegetable farmers from surrounding villages here who wholesale vegetables, including eggplants, cucumbers, tomatoes, potatoes, cabbages, etc. Many vegetable vendors come here to purchase goods, and from time to time, there are bursts of bargaining sounds, which makes it quite lively. How much is a pound of vegetables here? What do you want? Eggplant is 1.6 yuan, cabbage is 80 cents, and tomato is 1.5 yuan. Yes. I want them all. Wow. This caused a sensation in the entire wholesale market. Xu Qing pointed at the carts of vegetables and said loudly, "I'll take all the potatoes, eggplants, peppers, cabbages, etc. on your carts, but you have to help me pull them to the store and help move them in." We didn't talk about a penny and settled the matter immediately. What else is there to say? It's just a matter of stepping on the gas. As for helping to move into the store, that goes without saying. As the vegetable vendors stared in astonishment, the cars followed Xu Qing all their way to the Xinguan grocery store on Xingfu Road. While weighing, the vegetables were moved in and stacked neatly on the cart. Soon, all 100 carts were filled. Xu Qing asked the vegetable farmers to take the other 100 carts back and bring them over tomorrow morning so that they could be pushed directly in. This would save time and effort. Yes. The vegetable farmers happily agreed and turned around and left one by one. Click. The rolling door was closed. Xu Qing pushed the cars one by one into the back wall. Each car disappeared after being pushed. This was much easier. After finishing all the work, he went to the Shunder meat processing factory in Beijiang City and wholesaled 100 live pigs. He also put them on the cart and pushed them into the wall one by one. Soon, rice, flour, cooking oil, steamed buns, eggs, etc. were all delivered. After all this hard work, Xu Qing spent more than 1.6 million. I didn't sleep for 2 days and 2 nights. Xu Qing was so exhausted that he collapsed on the bed and fell asleep. But now Lingxia City is in a state of complete uproar. Zhao Xuning gave a death order. The wall of the dead end leads to their immortal land, so he specially let Pang Chong bring 100 soldiers to station here, and blocked all the surrounding streets. No one was allowed to enter or leave, and no one was allowed to leak the news. Violators would be executed. Pang Chong sat on the chair, staring at the wall, as if he could see flowers there. 1 hour. 2 hours. Suddenly, there was a plop sound, and a bottle of mineral water flew out from the wall and fell to the ground. What's this? Pang Chong was so frightened that he shuddered and bent down to pick up the mineral water. It was transparent and clear without any impurities. This guy was just a rough guy and couldn't understand it, so he immediately called a personal soldier who could read and write. It's mineral water. Mineral water. What is that water? Could it be the fairy spring? Pang Chong looked at it again and again, then cut off the bottle cap with a knife and took a sip. It was cool, delicious and sweet. In the blink of an eye, all kinds of potato chips, spicy strips, biscuits, etc. poured out from the wall. Amazing. It's amazing. Pang Chong immediately ordered the soldiers to clear all these things out and pile them aside. He ran to report the situation to Zhao Xuning, but Zhao Xuning was exhausted and finally fell asleep. There were 2 female generals, Xue Paifeng and Song Yangying, guarding them, so he did not dare to disturb them and returned. There were so many colorful packaging bags, containing things like shrimp crackers, white elephant instant noodles, Jinluo sausages, etc. Pang Chong and the soldiers were all stunned. Don't know. I don't recognize any of them. After waiting for a while, cartloads of vegetables were pushed out. Wow! There were bursts of exclamations at the scene. This is cabbage. It's potatoes. This is eggplant. Every time something was introduced, they would shout out excitedly. When the live pigs, boxes of eggs, and bags of steamed buns were pushed out, Pang Chong and the soldiers all knelt on the ground, crying and laughing, laughing and crying. Lingxia City is finally saved. Chapter 6. There are rice, noodles, pork, meat, oil and vegetables. These bags of big white steamed buns seemed to be still steaming. Pang Chong couldn't help it and tore open a bag. The soldiers all opened their eyes wide and forgot to breathe. The hands rubbed it again and again. Pang Chong grabbed a steamed bun, but still left black fingerprints. But who cares about this? Pang Chong took a big bite. It was sweet and soft, without any sand or bran. It didn't even make his throat feel tight. A soldier swallowed his saliva and asked, "General Pang, how is it? Is it delicious?" Ball. Pang Chong's mouth was so full of steamed buns that he couldn't speak, so he simply threw the bag of steamed buns to the soldiers and everyone shared one. What else is there to say? The soldiers couldn't wait any longer and immediately started eating one by one. Is this the steamed bun that the gods eat? It's so delicious. I didn't expect that we mortals can also eat it. Yes, I have never eaten such delicious steamed buns in my life. Tasty. These soldiers were eating with big mouthfuls, and they couldn't stop at all. Pang Chong ate the bun in 2 or 3 bites, then fell on a soldier and asked, "Sanlang, why don't you eat?" Sanlang was thin and small, looking like he was not even an adult. He held the steamed bun carefully in his hands, but just licked his lips without taking a bite. He asked, "General Pang, can I ask for a leave?" "What's wrong?" "My family has never eaten such delicious steamed buns. I want to take some home for them to eat." Such a simple sentence made all the soldiers freeze. Pang Chong walked over, rubbed Sanlang's head vigorously, and cursed, "I ordered you to eat the buns, not just Sanlang. All of you are the same, later each of you will take another bun and give it to your family." Sanlang said, "General, this is against the rules." "What's against the rules?" "I am the rules." "Yes." The soldiers finally ate with peace of mind, but unfortunately everyone had a limited amount of water, so their lips were still a little chapped. Tar da da. Zhao Xuning came riding a white horse, bringing with him 2 female generals, Shui Paifeng and Song Yangying. "Princess." Pang Chong and the soldiers all knelt on the ground. "Get up and talk." Zhao Xuning jumped off the horse and was immediately shocked by the scene in front of him. Shui Paifeng and Song Yangying widened their eyes, extremely shocked. The walls on both sides of the alley were piled with bags, cartons, and vegetables, piled up like mountains, which was dizzying to look at. Zhao Xuning took a deep breath and asked, "Pang Chong, why are there these things?" "These are all sent by the gods. We just checked, there's rice, white flour, luncheon meat, vegetables, eggs, etc., and a lot more that I don't recognize." This. Zhao Xuning was quite touched. She only ordered 2,000 bags of rice, 1,000 bags of flour and 200 boxes of luncheon meat, but she didn't expect Xu Qing to send so much, even 100 live pigs. She didn't even dare to think about it. How much do these cost? I'm afraid the figure is astronomical, and Xu Qing must have suffered heavy losses. Zhao Xuning shouted, "Pang Chong, use the carriage to take all these supplies to the military camp immediately." "No need for a carriage, you see." Pang Chong pulled a flatbed cart close to Zhao Xuning. "The cart has 4 wheels at the bottom. I don't know what material it is made of, but it is soft and flexible. It makes no sound when pulled and does not require much effort. It is very convenient for transporting supplies or stones." Zhao Xuning nodded, "Okay, cover all the supplies with tarpaulin, and don't let any news leak out." "Yes." "Shui Paifeng, Song Yangying, you count the supplies here." "Yes." Everything is arranged. Zhao Xuning dived into the wall and disappeared in an instant. This is the first time I've seen this. Although Shui Paifeng and Song Yangying were mentally prepared, they were still stunned. They touched the wall again and again but did not see any traces. Where are the people? The store was empty. Zhao Xuning looked around and came to a compartment inside. Xu Qing was lying on the bed, sleeping soundly and snoring. This guy. He was shirtless, wearing only a pair of shorts, which made Zhao Xuning's face turn red all the way to her ears. She turned around and tried to leave, and saw a piece of paper beside the bed. Rice, 2,000 bags. White flour, 1,000 bags. Luncheon meat, 200 boxes. Eggs, 500 cartons. Zhao Xuning was watching there. Suddenly, the ringtone of a cell phone playing the battle song of the Ming dynasty came from next to her pillow, which scared Zhao Xuning. Clang! The long sword was unsheathed, and a cold light appeared. Xu Qing was so frightened that he suddenly woke up and shouted, What do you want to do?" "No, it's okay, I heard that voice. It's a cell phone." "Liu Yuan Yuan?" That's my girlfriend. Shu Qing glanced at his phone and made a hush sound to Zhao Xuning. He walked to the side and answered the call, smiling. Yuan Yuan. Liu Yuan said, I will return to Beijing City from the provincial capital tonight and talk to you about marriage. Okay, I'll pick you up at the high-speed rail station. No need, I can just take a taxi to find you. That's fine. Shu Qing and Liu Yuan had already made an engagement. However, Shu Qing's parents died in a car accident. When Shu Qing came back from the provincial capital, his grandmother and uncle's family only left him a small shop, but Liu Yuan never came back. Since then, the two have been living a long-distance relationship, and now they can finally meet. Shu Qing was very happy. He hung up the phone and asked, Xuning, how is it? Did you receive the rice, flour, luncheon meat, vegetables, etc. that I sent you? Xuning? This is the first time a man calls himself like this. Zhao Xuning's face turned slightly red, and she threw a sheepskin bag to Shu Qing. I received everything. This is the balance. Thank you. What are you thanking me for? Shu Qing asked, how long will these rice, flour, pork, vegetables, etc. last you? Cook 2 porridges a day, add vegetables and pork, and it will be enough for 2 months. No. Shu Qing's attitude was very firm. How can we fight a war if we are hungry? From today on, all 3 meals a day must include rice, 1 meat, 1 vegetable and 1 soup. Zhao Xuning doesn't have to worry about food, vegetables and meat at all. Shu Qing will ensure that they are supplied in a steady supply to ensure that the Qing army has no worries. This man. Zhao Xuning didn't know what to say. Before being besieged by the Mongolian army, the southern Song soldiers also ate some coarse grains mixed with some wheat bran or rice bran. Occasionally they could have a bowl of meat soup, which was already very good. 3 meals a day, including meat, vegetables and soup. This is simply a fairy life. Zhao Xuning said bitterly, Shu Qing, thank you very much, but we have no money left. Chapter 7. The siege lasted for 9 years. The Qing army had already run out of ammunition and food, otherwise Zhao Xuning would not have allowed Pang Chong to collect silver. Shu Qing said righteously, what's the point of talking about money? It's so vulgar. I don't know what's wrong with people nowadays. They keep talking about money. Who are you talking to about serving the people and saving lives? Without money, are we just going to watch the people of Lingxiao City starve to death? Without money, are we just going to watch the Qing army being slaughtered? These words are extremely shocking. Zhao Xuning took a deep breath and said, Shu Qing, thank you, but it must cost a lot of money for you to keep sending us supplies like this. That is true. If you don't have silver and gold, you must have copper coins, right? Go back and collect copper coins from Lingxiao City. Any copper coin can be exchanged for 1 jin of rice. The Iron Mother of Lizhu in the Song dynasty can be exchanged for 10 jin, and the Jiarding Fengbao, Jiarding Longbao, Jiarding Quanbao, and Jiarding Debao can be exchanged for a bag of rice. Any copper coin from the Song dynasty is worth at least hundreds of yuan, and a pound of rice is only 2 or 3 yuan. This is simply huge profits. It even makes money faster than those silver and gold ingots. However, Zhao Xuning found it very difficult to understand and asked, 1 copper coin for 1 kilogram of rice, isn't that too much of a loss for you? It's a loss, but now we are saving lives. On behalf of all the people in Lingxiao City, thank you. Zhao Xuning took 2 steps back and clasped his hands towards Shu Qing. Shu Qing waved his hand, forget it, why are we still talking about this? By the way, if you need anything else, just tell me. Zhao Xuning asked, do you have water here? The 2 wells in Lingxiao City are about to run dry. How about mineral water? I'll get you 10,000 cases right away. No. Mineral water is too expensive. What we need now is domestic water. That's easy too. Shu Qing smiled. Since rice, flour, instant noodles, luncheon meat and other supplies can be thrown into the wall, then, what about the water pipes? He can just connect the water pipes from both sides. When the faucet on this side is turned on, water will flow out continuously on the other side. The water bill is a little more, so it doesn't matter. I'm not short of money anyway. Shu Qing looked at the time and said, it's 12 o'clock noon. I'll wait for you here and see if I can bring you some water. 12 o'clock noon. That means 3/4 after noon, right? Well. The time of both parties is different. Shu Qing simply took off his watch and put it on Zhao Xuning's wrist. One circle of this big hand is 1 hour, and the time the small hand points to is the time. Let's be on time at 12 o'clock. Inevitably, their hands touched each other. Zhao Xuning had never had such close contact with a man before. Her face turned red and she felt indescribably nervous and embarrassed. What is the situation in Lingxiao City? What about the Mongolian army? Shu Qing asked Zhao Xuning to draw a map. As for the military camp, a camp should be built here in the dead end, and Zhao Xuning's mansion is here in the dead end. On the one hand, it is convenient to receive supplies. On the one hand, two people can contact each other at any time to avoid emergencies. Okay, I'll go back then, and we'll meet at 12 o'clock sharp. Zhao Xuning turned around and disappeared into the wall. Shu Qing looked through the sheepskin bag and found 4 gold ingots weighing 25 taels, worth 25 taels of gold, and a pair of gold earrings. The earrings were made from a single piece of gold, with a thin, curved earring foot on one end and a crescent moon on the other. They were exquisitely crafted and made of high quality, and were a rare treasure. These are the only few gold ingots Zhao Xuning has left and they cannot be sold. How much is this earring worth? Shu Qing immediately ran to the antique shop. This time, not only Fang Siyuan, but even Fang Daqian was polite to him. This is a pair of gold earrings with chrysanthemum pattern. No oxidation, no defects. The chrysanthemums are lifelike, lively and fresh, and are rare treasures. It is at least 1,000 years old, and very few of them are well preserved and handed down from generation to generation, making them of great collection value. Fang Daqian's eyes widened as he asked, "This pair of earrings is worth 300,000 yuan. I'll give you 500,000 yuan. What do you think?" "Okay, I'll go back and think about it." "Oh, this is definitely the highest price. I'll come back to you guys when I have something good." For Shu Qing, he couldn't sell it even for 5 million, let alone 500,000. His girlfriend Liu Yuan is coming back tonight, and he wants to give her this pair of gold earrings with chrysanthemum patterns as a gift. He believes that she will like them. After coming out of the antique shop, Shu Qing immediately ran to the building materials market and bought water pipes and hoses, elbows, faucets, and even water tanks, cups and other things before rushing back. Now, there are many agricultural vehicles parked at Xingfu intersection, and they are all vegetable farmers who come to transport vegetables. All the vegetables were stacked neatly on the flatbed truck. However, there were too many people and it was too chaotic and noisy, which attracted a lot of attention. This definitely won't work. Shu Qing asked the vegetable farmers to push the flatbed carts into the store, and then went to Beijian Commercial City to negotiate with the big boss Wang Rentai. From rice, flour, cooking oil to noodles, vegetables, pork, and even salt, soy sauce, vinegar, sugar and other daily necessities and condiments, all were supplied exclusively to the Xinguang store. Same-day delivery and same-day payment. But one thing is that every item of supplies must be loaded on a flatbed cart and then pushed to the store. This is the god of wealth. As long as you pay, none of this matters. Wang Rentai agreed and said that the first batch of supplies would be delivered at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Shu Qing finally made some time to come and connect the faucet there. Zhao Xuning was also not idle. On the one hand, he asked Pang Chong to transport cartloads of supplies to the military camp. On the other hand, he asked Song Yangying to lead 1,000 soldiers to immediately set up a camp around the entrance of the alley and forbid anyone to approach. Before long, all the supplies were piled up in the kitchen. When the cooks saw the mountains of bags of rice, flour, luncheon meat, noodles and other supplies, they were all dumbfounded. Chinese cabbage? Eggplant? And pork? Crying. When the Mongolian army besieged the city, the kitchen had no food at first, so they had to eat bean cakes, wheat bran, rice bran. Later, even grass roots and tree bark were gone. In order to save food, the head cook drank water and ate guanine soil every day, and bloated himself to death. The cooks touched the cabbage and the pork, and they cried and laughed. Finally they would no longer have to go hungry. Pang Chong shouted, "The princess said that we will have meat, vegetables and soup for 3 meals a day. You don't have to worry about not having enough food. The princess will send you supplies continuously." This. "General Pang, are you making white rice?" "Yes. Now you just need to focus on making every meal well and don't worry about anything else." "Yes." All the cooks knelt on the ground together. Suddenly, several soldiers stumbled back, their bodies in disarray and covered in blood, and shouted, "General Pang, the water we fetched with great difficulty was snatched away by a group of unruly people." Chapter 8. There are two wells on Lingxiao Peak, which were dug by the Qing army. One muddy and the other clear. The water from the muddy well is turbid and is only used for irrigation and livestock drinking. The water from the Sujing well is clear and sweet, and is designed for human consumption and is most suitable for making tea. Unfortunately, due to years of drought, the two wells were almost dry. The common people all came to grab water and fights often broke out. Zhao Xuning sent soldiers to be stationed here, and each person was given water at a fixed time and quantity. Gradually, the water became less and less. How is this possible? All these common people gathered at the top of Lingxiao Peak, their lips were cracked and their throats were smoking. When they saw the Qing army's water wheel, they could no longer hold back and all gathered around. Or leave the water. Either you step over their dead bodies, there is no way to survive anyway. Zhang Tingji personally led the soldiers to escort them here. He drew his sword and shouted, "This water is military supplies. Who dares to steal it? I will kill him. Back off. Stand back. Stand back." These soldiers also drew their swords, the blades flashing coldly and filled with murderous intent. Military master. The common people were so frightened that their faces turned pale, but no one stepped back. The Qing army is terrible. However, dying of thirst is even more terrifying. Someone in the crowd shouted, "Grab! If we can't get water today, no one will survive. Someone in my family is dying of thirst. We must get water today. No matter what, they only have a few dozen soldiers, let's fight them." An old man with grey hair and skinny body rushed forward tremblingly. After the first one, there was the second, the third. These common people were so angry that they ignored everything and rushed to the water wheel together. Zhang Tingji and the soldiers held their knives, struggling in their hearts. Some of these common people are his relatives, and some are people he knows. To put it another way, even if he doesn't know them, they are still the common people of Lingxiao City. After all, they have lived together for so many years. A knife is used to kill the enemy, not to kill your own people. But who dares to disobey military orders? Zhang Tingji, with tears in his eyes, knocked down a civilian and angrily said, "No one is allowed to rob." Blood splattered. However, these ordinary people did not retreat at all and rushed forward. The scene was in chaos. How could these unarmed common people be a match for the Qing army? However, they were numerous and powerful, and they rushed forward together and immediately overturned the water wheel. The gurgling water flowed out along the water bag and spilled all over the ground. Water! Water! Everybody went crazy. Some threw themselves on the water bags and drank the water frantically. Some of them lay on the ground, licking the water on the ground. Zhang Tingji and the soldiers of the Qing army continued to swing their swords, chopping down one person after another. The blood flowed all over the ground and mixed with the water. It was so tragic and desperate. Suddenly, the sound of horse hooves was heard from a hillside, and a group of cavalry came galloping. The one rushing to the front was a female general riding a white horse and wearing a red military uniform. She shouted sternly, "Stop! Everyone stop! Princess?" When the common people saw hundreds of soldiers surrounding them, they were stunned. Finished. The water is gone. They have no hope left. However, they did not regret it, at least they died well fed. Plop. An ordinary citizen knelt on the ground and cried bitterly, "Princess, I am the one who stole the water. It has nothing to do with my family. If you want to kill someone, just kill me. Princess, please kill me. Princess." These ordinary people all knelt on the ground, which was really moving to watch. Zhang Tingji angrily said, "What's the use of crying? Anyone who steals water will be beheaded as a warning to the public. Without water to drink, the Qing army would not be able to defend the city. Once the city is breached, Lingxiao City will be massacred and no one will survive." Zhao Xuning said sternly, "Now there are porridge factories in Kaishiku, Zhengyilu, Liumatai, Jiaqiang and other places. Our water trucks are used to make porridge for everyone. Let me ask you, have you ever received porridge? Now there is no water, how can we make porridge? Do you want everyone to starve to death?" Each sound is like thunder. The common people finally understood what a big mistake they had made. The restless crowd suddenly became quiet. They lowered their heads, feeling extremely regretful and self-blaming. But now the water wheel had overturned and everything was gone. Everyone knelt on the ground. Princess, we were wrong. We are willing to accept any punishment. Wrong is not a reason. All the young and strong men who participated in the water grabbing were taken to the military camp and served as soldiers. They were provided with white rice, meat, vegetables, and soup for 3 meals a day. The rest of the people participated in the city defense construction and were also provided with rice, vegetables, and soup. What? These people all suspected that they had heard it wrong, and they knelt on the ground, crying and laughing, laughing and crying. Have you eaten? Are there meat, vegetarian, and soup? How is this possible? A young man asked, Princess, are you telling the truth? Zhao Xuning shouted, It's absolutely true. Then can our family have a bite to eat? We will open a shop at the intersection of West City Street in a little while. 1 copper coin can be exchanged for 1 liter of rice or 1 liter of flour. The maximum exchange rate per person is 5 liters per day. As for water, we will also supply it every day. This. She's a princess, of course she'll keep her promise. Everyone knelt down and kowtowed, saying excitedly, Thank you, princess, for not killing us. We will do our best to defend Lingxiao City together. Got rice? Have face? Is there water? How is this possible? There was a burly, bearded man in the crowd, with a look of disbelief in his eyes. Next to him, there was a man with a pointed face and monkey cheeks, who asked, Brother Liu, do you believe what Zhao Xuning said? Liu Hater shook his head, I don't think it's possible. 1 copper coin can be exchanged for 1 liter of rice, or 1 liter of flour. If that happens, the food we have worked so hard to get will be wasted. No. Hu Liu, let's go over and take a look. Good. Liu Hater and Hu Liu mixed in the crowd and walked towards the West City Street entrance. A lot of people have gathered here, and they all stretch their necks and look around. What are you looking at? The 2 men squeezed to the front of the crowd and saw a group of Qing soldiers busy there. They dug a deep groove on the ground along the wall, buried white pipes deep underground, and then immediately covered them with bricks and stones. After working for a while, a pipe was erected at the entrance of Shiqing Street with a copper faucet in front, which looked extremely weird. Pang Chong shouted, Princess, we have arranged it. Princess, we've got it set up. Princess, we've got it set up. It passed from one person to another, and finally reached the wall of the dead end. Now, a temporary mansion has been built here, guarded by Shui Paifeng and Song Yangying, and no one is allowed to approach. Zhao Xuning strode out, and under everyone's gaze, she put her hand on the faucet switch, and immediately felt a cool sensation. Will the water come out in this way? Zhao Xuning took a deep breath and twisted it gently. Can't turn it. I can't turn it at all. It's impossible. When she was in the convenience store, she saw with her own eyes how Shu Qing connected the faucet and how he turned the switch. She closed her eyes and thought for a moment, then turned the switch to the left again. Wow! Cool running water immediately flowed out. Water. Is there water? We have water. All the Changning soldiers and civilians knelt on the ground and cheered together, thank God for giving us the holy water. Chapter 9. God? Some things cannot be hidden just because you want to. After being besieged and attacked by the Mongolian army for 9 years, now suddenly there is rice, flour, water, there is a high possibility of riots. But now it is different. Zhao Xuning put all the blame on the gods, and his voice resounded throughout the earth. The Mongolian army is cruel and ruthless, and they slaughter people at will. We, the sons of Lingxiao, swear to defend them to the death and never retreat. Because of this, the gods are moved and rain is sent down from heaven. We will be indomitable and fight the Mongolian army to the end. Fight the Mongolian army to the end. Fight the Mongolian army to the end. Everyone was waving their fists and shouting, their anger reaching the sky. Zhao Xuning shouted, Someone come. Pang Chong and some Changning army soldiers came over pushing carts, put bags of rice on the ground, and opened all the bags. Under the sunlight, the rice grains are crystal clear, plump and have an attractive luster. They are definitely top-quality rice. 1 copper coin could be exchanged for 1 liter of rice or 1 liter of flour, and each person was limited to 5 liters per day. According to modern weight unit conversion, 1 liter of rice in the Song dynasty was approximately equal to 0.8 for Jin. Wow! Everyone at the scene was in an uproar. Pang Chong shouted, "Everyone line up. Anyone who cuts in line or makes trouble will be beaten out." The crowd soon formed into dozens of rows. The tap water kept flowing, and once a bucket was full it was immediately carried away and poured into the jar. When the bucket is full, replace it with a new one. When the vat is full, replace it with a new one. Everyone can line up to get water. Pity. There is only one faucet, but what if there are dozens or hundreds of faucets? Then we can truly achieve water freedom. Liu Hater and Hu Liu were both dumbfounded. They had finally managed to get food in from outside the city, but that was brown rice, which cost as much as 20 wen per liter. But now? A liter of good rice is only 1 copper coin, and there is also white flour, so wouldn't their brown rice be wasted? Hu Liu said fiercely, "Brother Liu, we have already paid the price, so let's just go all out." Liu Hater asked, "What do you want?" "Let's call a few brothers to burn all the food at night." Fart. Liu Hater grabbed Hu Liu by the collar and said angrily, "These grains are for saving lives. Even if you kill people, you can't waste the grains." Hu Liu agreed, but he was still not convinced in his heart. 5 copper coins. 5 copper coins. Each person has a maximum purchase limit. In a short time, dozens of kilograms of copper coins were collected. No money. You can sign up for military service, or do ironwork, civil engineering, mending clothes, transporting supplies, etc. You can make money every day. A lot of money. That's even easier. Next to the intersection of Shiqing Street, there is a shop that supplies vegetables such as cabbage, cucumbers, eggplants, etc. There are also all kinds of strange things on the shelves, such as lollipops, French fries, spicy strips, canned food. No matter which one it is something I have never seen or heard of before. Liu Hater saw a bag of Weilong spicy strips and asked, "How much is this?" 10 cents. "Let me try a pack." Liu Hater tore open the package, and an enticing aroma immediately wafted into the air, a little spicy, a little sweet. It was like a feast for the taste buds, or like a fire ignited in the mouth, making people unable to stop and leaving an endless aftertaste. What a divine delicacy this is! Liu Hater finished a bag of spicy strips in 2 or 3 bites, licked his fingers, and still felt unsatisfied, so he shouted, "Another bag." "Brother Liu, what are you eating?" Hu Liu looked at it with envy, and the people around him also looked at it with envy. "Weilong spicy noodles, here's another sentence, let me eat a bag of spicy noodles to calm down." "I'll have one too." "I'll have one too." This kind of scene is simply rare. Gradually, more and more people gathered in front of the store, each with a bag of spicy strips in hand. The more they ate, the more they became addicted, and they couldn't stop. It's been revived. Completely revitalized. The entire Lingxiao city is filled with the breath of life. These people's faces were still a little pale, but at least they were in better spirits and even had the strength to walk. Plop. Plop. Zhao Xuning threw 2 large bags of copper coins in front of Xu Qing and asked, "What do you think of these?" "I have asked someone to separate each type of copper coin into small bags." "So much?" "I'm afraid it weighs over 100 kilograms. Xu Qing was surprised and delighted, and asked with a smile, "Our store is open too." "It's open now, and business is booming. By the way, think of a name for the store. Then call it Qingning Supermarket." Qingning. Xu Qing and Zhao Xuning. The idea of opening a shop was something the two of them came up with together. Since the Qingning army has no money, they can raise money from the public. Xu Qing continuously supplies goods, Zhao Xuning sells them, and gives the money earned to Xu Qing, who then provides the Qingning army with various supplies. This is a win-win situation. As for Lingxiao City, it will also enter a virtuous cycle. Zhao Xuning nodded, "When I get back, I'll ask someone to set up a cover." "No, leave it to me. I'll customize the plaque and light box." Plaque. Light box. What are these? Zhao Xuning has gotten used to it now, and asked, "One faucet is still too few. Can you give us some more faucets? Also, get some more spicy strips in the supermarket. Some rich people like to eat spicy strips." Xu Qing smiled and said, "Okay, I'll figure out a way to deal with this. Don't cook in the kitchen tonight. I'll improve your meals." No, we are fine now. You listen to me on this matter. Spicy strips are not a big deal. But what about the faucet? Even if the water supply is continuous 24 hours a day, it still cannot supply more than 40,000 people. Shu Qing did not dare to stay and immediately ran out to order the plug and light box. There is no electricity in Lingxiao City. Shu Qing bought 2 more solar panels to power the light box. On their way back, he went to Chimelong Hotel again and booked 90 banquet tables, each with 16 dishes. Each dish was packed in a large 304 stainless steel barrel and all were delivered to Xinguang's store before 4 o'clock in the afternoon. The second batch of supplies for Beijing Commercial City was also delivered. Rice, flour, pork, and vegetables were all loaded onto flatbed carts, which Shu Qing pushed directly into the wall, along with 100 boxes of spicy strips. Pang Chong and the soldiers had just cleared out the supplies when barrels of dishes appeared in front of them, and the air was immediately filled with fragrance. Tiger skin pork elbow, for happiness meatballs, pork with preserved vegetables, braised carp. Each dish was packed in several large barrels, a total of 108 barrels, and there were also barrels of rice, steaming hot, making people salivate. This is not just an improvement in food, it's simply a life of devotion. Not only Pang Chong, Zhang Tingji, Shui Paifeng and other soldiers, but even Zhao Xuning was shocked. Pang Chong swallowed and asked, "Princess, can we eat this?" "We'll keep one, you keep one for your families, and send the rest to the kitchen." "Yes. This guy." Zhao Xuning glanced at the wall of the dead end and originally wanted to go over to thank Shu Qing, but then she thought better of it. His girlfriend is here, so he must be busy now. Chapter 10. Liu Yuan is back. It had been more than half a year since they last met, and Shu Qing was excited and happy. In fact, their marriage was arranged by their parents. At that time, Shu Qing's parents had their own company in Beijing City, with at least tens of millions of assets. However, since his parents died in a car accident, all these assets fell into the hands of his grandmother and uncle, leaving him only a small shop. Shu Qing also fought back, but he was alone and weak, and was no match for the Shu family. But now it's different, he is considered a rich man. Not to mention the 4 gold ingots, the copper coins alone are an astronomical figure. Shu Qing took a quick look and saw 2 large bags of copper coins, which were divided into small bags. There were dozens of kinds of copper coins such as Jianyang Tongbao, Chendao Yuanbao, Dasong Tongbao, Chunyu Tongbao, etc. There were even some rare treasures like Tianxing Yuanbao with plain back and wide holes, Zhongou Yuanbao, Jianyang Yuanbao, etc., which weighed more than 100 kilograms. Ding ding. His cell phone rang. It was Liu Yuan calling. He smiled and said, Yuan. Why don't you come to Chimelong Hotel? I'll be waiting for you in room 302. Okay, I'll be there right away. Chimelong Hotel is a very famous hotel in Beijing City. It is not a place that ordinary people can visit. Its main feature is its high-end and classy atmosphere. Apart from anything else, Shu Qing has booked 90 banquet tables here today, and the lowest end ones cost 1,588 yuan per table. Shu Qing also signed a long-term food supply contract with the hotel and paid a deposit of 1 million yuan in advance, becoming a super VIP customer of the hotel. This was a familiar route for Shu Qing, and he quickly came over on his electric bike. As soon as I got off the car, I heard a voice shouting, "Shu Qing." This is a woman wearing a dress. Her hair was curled into big rose-colored waves. She wore huge gold earrings on her ears and a pearl necklace around her neck. The pendant was deeply embedded in the deep V neckline. She was dressed in jewels and looked like a lady from a wealthy family. This is Liu Yuan. Shu Qing stared at her, almost not recognizing her, and asked, Yuan, is it really you? Nonsense. Liu Yuan looked Shu Qing up and down and said with disdain, Did you come here on an electric bike? Yes, this is economical and environmentally friendly. He. If you don't have money, just say you don't have money. What about economic and environmental protection? It's just an excuse for yourself. Liu Zhankui and He Guizhi, the Liu family's parents, also got out of the car. They looked at Shu Qing as if he were a stray dog, and they were full of disdain. Okay, let's go upstairs. Snort. The Liu family members didn't even bother to look at Shu Qing and strode upstairs. How did Liu Yuan become like this? Shu Qing frowned slightly, but followed anyway. As soon as we walked into the lobby on the first floor, several beautiful women in cheongsam came to greet us. They were very respectful and led us all their way to box 302. They served tea and poured water, smiling and saying, "Today's purchases are all free." Liu Yuan was startled and asked, "Why? You are our super VIP customers of Chimelong Hotel, and you have the privilege of a free meal every year." Super VIP customer. Har har. This is such a huge honor, why should I be polite? Liu Zhankui, He Guizhi and Liu Yuan were too lazy to think too much and directly ordered a top-level set meal for 18,888 yuan. Soon, one dish after another was served, including suckling pig, Australian lobster sashimi boat, stewed bird's nest with minced chicken, braised abalone and shark's fin, sea cucumber with golden onion and pigeon egg, a total of 8 cold dishes and 10 hot dishes. The dishes were exquisite and expensive. It was the first time for the Liu family to see it, and they immediately started eating with relish. And what about Qing? He was actually eating there too. I've never seen a shameless man like him. Liu Yuan sneered, "Qing, you have never eaten these dishes, right?" "No." "Then you have to eat more. You can't afford any of the dishes." Snort. He Guizhi asked, "Qing, I want to ask, do you want to marry our Yuan? Want to?" That was before. But now, Qing only felt disgust in his heart. He wanted to see what tricks they could come up with. He smiled and said, "Of course I thought about it. This marriage was originally arranged by both parents. Now that your parents have died in a car accident, don't accuse us of bullying you. So, you should prepare a 3-bedroom, 1 living room house for Yuan, at least 150 square meters of fine decoration in an elevator building. Can. We also want a Mercedes E300. Can. We also want a gift of 1 million. Can. One sound after another. Qing agreed to whatever He Guizhi said without any hesitation. Har har. The Liu family members looked at each other, their faces couldn't hold back anymore, and they suddenly burst into laughter. After so many years, who doesn't he know who? If it was before, when Qing's parents were alive, this little money would not even be a drop in the bucket. But now, all the Shu family's assets were taken away by grandma and uncle, and Qing was left with only a small store, without a penny, and he was still bragging here. He Guizhi said disdainfully, "Qing, let's be frank, shall we? You and Liu Yuan were engaged at the beginning because your Shu family was rich, but now, don't think about trying to get something for nothing, you are not worthy at all. Let's break up." Liu Yuan was too lazy to waste time and sneered, "I already have a boyfriend. He's the son of the big boss of Beijiang Trade City. He's 100 times better than you. Don't bother me anymore." "So, our engagement is no longer valid?" Qing asked. "Yes, it doesn't count." "What about this?" Qing saw through the Liu family and directly slammed a marriage contract on the table. "Engagement." Liu Yuan grabbed the engagement contract, tore it into pieces, waved her hand and threw it into the air, which immediately fell to the ground like snowflakes. "This time there is nothing." From then on, the bridge was the bridge and the road was the road, and the two sides no longer had any connection with each other. He Guizhi pointed at the door and cursed, "Get out and stop being an eyesore here. Do you really have to do this?" Qing sneered. "Yes, get out now." "Okay, I'm leaving. Don't regret it." Qing felt even more relieved and was about to open the door. The door opened automatically, and Mr. Zhang from Chimelong Hotel walked in with a glass of wine in his hand. He said with a smile, "Mr. Xu, you are very welcome to visit our Chimelong Hotel. I'd like to toast you." Qing shook his head, "No more drinking." "Well, what happened?" "No. You can charge whatever you want for this meal. It has nothing to do with me." Qing left. Boss Zhang glanced at Liu Zhankui, He Guizhi, and Liu Yuan, and immediately understood what was going on. His face turned stern, and he said harshly, "This meal is 18,888 yuan. Do you want to pay in cash or by card?" Boom. These few simple words were like bolts of lightning from the blue, striking the Liu family on the heads. They were totally confused. One runs a small shop. One is the owner of Chimelong Hotel. There is a huge difference between the two people. Why is Boss Zhang so polite to Qing? This paused for a few seconds. Liu Yuan shouted, didn't you say it was free? Who said it's free? I'm the boss here, did I say that? How dare you come here to eat and dine for free? You won't pay even a penny less. Boss Zhang shouted twice, and suddenly several security guards rushed in, each of them looking ferocious. The Liu family members were so frightened that their faces changed drastically, and they gave the money as if they were cutting their own flesh. This was all Xu Qing's fault. They really hated him. Chapter 11. Women change their attitude faster than turning the pages of a book. Xu Qing is not short of money at all now. A 3-bedroom, 1-living-room apartment with an elevator, a Mercedes-Benz E300, or even a dowry of 1 million yuan, these are no big deal. But who could have thought that Liu Yuan would become such a woman? When the Xu family had money, she was willing to get engaged to Xu Qing. When the Xu family ran out of money, she broke off the engagement. Hee. Xu Qing was still thinking about giving her the pair of gold earrings with chrysanthemum patterns, but she almost threw them away. However, it was better this way. She tore up the engagement herself, and the two sides would no longer have any relationship. With nothing to do in the evening, Xu Qing went to the esports hotel and played Black Myth, Wukong all night long. Paragelang, Wangmo, the Scholar in White, Elder Jinkai, and the Black Wind King. When the Black Bear Demon comes, he won't be able to do anything. Xu Qing took a bite of bread when his cell phone rang. It was the community calling, asking, Xiaoshu, you're not in the store. No, what's wrong? Let me tell you, is there a water leak in your house? More than 30 tons of water flowed out yesterday. Then I'll go back and check. This is what happened. It was only the first day, and the community called. If this continued for a long time, it would definitely not work. Zhao Xuning also said that one tap was not enough. Xu Qing was not afraid of spending money, but the water flow was simply not enough. Now, Xu Qing had no mood to play games anymore. He walked back while thinking about what to do. Sudden. There was a hissing sound of flowing water, splashing all over him. Har. This is Mr. Zhao from the car wash next door. He is washing cars at the door and said with a smile, Xu Qing, what's wrong with you? You look absent-minded. Are you thinking about your wife? Xu Qing looked at Boss Zhao and his eyes suddenly lit up. The two have been neighbors for some time. There is an old well in the backyard of this car wash that leads directly to an underground river. They use the water from the well to wash cars. If they use tap water, they would definitely not dare to waste it like this. Hey. Xu Qing walked over, took out a cigarette and handed it to Boss Zhao, grinning and saying, Brother Zhao, are you selling this car wash? What? You want to buy it? Yeah, you name a price. Stop it, I won't sell it. Boss Zhao refused outright. He now depended on this car wash for a living, and if he sold it, he would have nothing. Xu Qing didn't hesitate. 1 million, I'll give it to you in cash. 1 million. Boss Zhao was startled and shook his head, saying, this is not about money. This is our ancestral home. Xu Qing said, 1.5 million. No, I'm telling you Xu Qing. 2 million. Make a deal. With this money, there is nothing wrong with doing anything, but Boss Zhao doesn't believe that Xu Qing has money. Xu Qing smiled and walked around the car wash. This was really the Zhao family's ancestral home. The side facing the street was converted into a car wash. He walked through the car wash and came to the backyard, which was at least several hundred square meters. There was a pavilion and several big trees beside the yard. The well was right next to the pavilion. It was very convenient to pump water with a water pump and just pull the switch. Without any hesitation. The two immediately went to Beijiang Real Estate Transaction Center, completed the transfer procedures, and transferred 2 million on the spot. Xu Qing found people from moving, housekeeping and decoration companies, at least dozens of them. Some of them did the moving, some did the cleaning, and some did some simple decoration. Everything was done in 3 consecutive days. The walls between the store, the car wash, and the courtyard were all demolished, and the ground was smoothed with cement. Everything was done to facilitate pushing the carts toward the back wall. Xu Qing also made a special trip to the building materials market and bought a 50mm aluminum plastic composite pipe, which is a new type of greening irrigation water pipe with the advantages of rust resistance, corrosion resistance, high temperature resistance, and high compressive strength. It is suitable for high pressure irrigation and water supply. There are also a large number of PVC pipes and tees, forceps, elbows, etc., as well as several tool boxes and bags of sand and cement. Bring it on. Now everything is ready, just waiting for the water supply. But Zhao Xuning is gone. For 3 whole days, she didn't come over once, which made Xu Qing nervous and worried. Could something have happened? The Mongolian army attacked the city? Lingxiao city was broken? Zhao Xuning, the Qing army, and all the people of Lingxiao city died for their country? The key is that damn wall. Only Zhao Xuning can get through it, but Xu Qing can't. The only thing that comforted Xu Qing was that he pushed 2 more batches of supplies into the wall and they were all pushed in. Does this mean that Zhao Xuning is okay? Otherwise, the wall would have been closed long ago. Plop. Plop. Suddenly, 2 muffled noises were heard in the empty room. Zhao Xuning finally came and staggered, dropping 2 large bags of copper coins on the ground. This? Xu Qing quickly asked, "What's wrong with you? Are you okay?" I'm fine." Zhao Xuning's voice was a little hoarse, his face was flushed, he crossed his arms with his hands, coughed constantly, and looked very uncomfortable. Xu Qing walked over and wanted to reach out and touch her forehead. Zhao Xuning raised her hand and slapped him reflexively. However, she didn't have any strength left in her body and plunged into Xu Qing's arms, which felt like hugging a ball of fire, scorching hot. Isn't this a fever? At this moment, Xu Qing suddenly understood everything. No wonder he hadn't seen her for 3 consecutive days. She was sick, and her illness was quite serious. Zhao Xuning pushed Xu Qing away and said angrily, I'm giving you the copper coins now. I have to go back." "What are you saying? You have a cold and a fever." Ignoring her struggles and resistance, Xu Qing carried her to the bed and covered her with a quilt. She curled up and was still shivering from the cold. Now, it is December in Lingxiao City, while it is still the scorching heat of summer in Beijing City where Xu Qing is located. Although they are only separated by a wall, it feels like a world away. Xu Qing suddenly remembered something and asked, "Is it very cold in your Lingxiao City now?" Zhao Xuning shivered and said, "It's very cold. The temperature dropped sharply in the past 2 days. Our quilts are relatively thin. Many people don't even have clothes to wear. They all have colds and fevers." "What? Why didn't you tell me about this?" "Wait, I'll go buy a lot of medicine, clothes, and bedding right away. I have a fever and can't get out of bed." All right, wait for me." Xu Qing immediately ran to the pharmacy and bought out all the medicines related to colds and fevers, antivirals, etc., such as ibuprofen tablets, lianhuaqingwen capsules, cough suppressant tablets, acetaminophen tablets, azithromycin tablets. He went from one pharmacy to another, carrying boxes and boxes of medicines home. "Take the medicine. Plug in the electric blanket." Xu Qing was just too embarrassed to give Zhao Xuning an injection, otherwise he would have asked someone to come to her home and give her an injection. Of course, now is not the time to think about those things. Xu Qing immediately called Wang Rentai, the owner of Beijing Trade City, and asked, "Boss Wang, do you have a stove and honeycomb coal?" "Have. Send me 10,000 stoves and 10,000 boxes of honeycomb coal as soon as possible. Oh, and 10,000 pots and kettles that can be used on the stoves." "So many? No problem." Wang Rentai agreed very readily. Xu Qing asked, "Do you have a military blanket?" Wang Rentai shook his head, "I don't have it here, but I have a fellow villager named Lao Wei, he is a wild man, he opened a military supplies store, he should have it there." Military supply store. Xu Qing immediately perked up. Chapter 12. Military blankets, military coats, military boots. If the Qing army were equipped with all of these, they would not have to suffer from the cold. However, this is almost like burning money. Xu Qing didn't care about anything else. He carried 2 bags of copper coins and went to the antique shop. Now, several elderly people are carefully examining a copper coin in an antique shop. The copper coin is placed in a copper coin protection box with transparent sides to prevent fingers from touching the copper coin and causing oxidation or rust. This is the Iron Mother of Lizhu in the Great Song Dynasty. "Mr. Fang? Where did you get this?" There are not many Iron Mother coins in existence. It is a rare piece among the coins of the Southern Song Dynasty. These old people are not simple. One is Deputy Director Lin of Beijing City Museum, one is Mr. Han, a great collector from Liaodong province, and one is Du Wei, the owner of Hongshan auction house. He. Fang Daqian laughed and said, look at how ignorant you are. Isn't it just a matter of Liz Hu, the executor of the Song dynasty, that you have such a big reaction? There aren't many Iron mothers in Liz Hu, Song dynasty, and there are even fewer of this quality. Of course not. Anyway, I haven't seen it. It's my first time seeing this too. The three of them exclaimed in praise, saying that this was definitely a good thing. Bang! Fang Daqian slapped a copper coin protection box on the table and said, look, take a look at this. Is this Jiarding Feng Bao Bei Quanwu? Oh my god! Deputy Director Lin, Mr. Han, and Jui all stared wide-eyed. Du Wei took a deep breath and said excitedly, before, Ganju Auction House auctioned a Jiarding seal with a back of Quan Wu, but the quality was far inferior to this one, and it was also sold for 880,000. This one is at least over $1 million. Mr. Han asked, Mr. Fang, are you willing to pay? I can pay up to 1.2 million. I'll give you 1.5 million. Don't fight with me, I'll give you 2 million. The price is definitely not worth it. But look at the patina of this Jiarding Fengbao coin with the inscription Quan Wu on the back. It does not have any earthy smell and looks like it has been played with frequently. There is not even a bit of rust or corrosion. It is truly precious and perfect. Fang Daqian twisted his beard with his hands and smiled. Let me tell you, this Jiarding seal with the number 5 on the back is extremely rare in the world. Plop. Plop. Xu Qing walked in, threw 2 large bags on the ground, and shouted, Mr. Fang, I have 2 bags of copper coins here. Do you want to take them? 2 bags. This must weigh about 100 pounds. Deputy Director Lin was moved and asked, what kind of copper coin is this? Here, let me see. Xu Qing opened the bag, and inside were small bags, each with a name on it. This bag is Jiarding Yuanbao, this bag is Jianyang Yuanbao, this bag is Chendao Tongbao. While throwing the small bags one by one onto the counter. How is it possible? When several people saw that Xu Qing was dressed simply, they were even more unconvinced. Du Wei snorted, Chendao Tongbao is extremely rare. The last time it appeared was in the 2010 China Guardian Autumn Auction of Ancient Coins, where it was sold for 500,000 yuan. Do you have a bag? Xu Qing said, won't you know if you take a look? Then I'll expose you, Gar. Jui was a worldly wise man, but when he opened the bag, he was shocked by the scene before him, as if he was petrified. So what? Old Han leaned over to take a look, but he froze there as usual, stammering, are these all Chendao Tongbao? Jui took a few deep breaths, quickly put on his gloves, picked up a Chendao Tongbao and put it under his nose to smell it, then took a look and said, it doesn't smell like dirt, it didn't come from water, this is definitely a treasure from my personal collection. Wow! There was an uproar at the scene. Fang Daqian and Deputy Director Lin also came over, touching this and looking at that, their eyes were almost not enough to take care of everything. Isn't this just a waste of time? Xu Qing knocked on the table twice and asked, Mr. Fang, I'm here to sell copper coins. Will you accept them? Fang Daqian said quickly, take it, I'll take it. No, can you collect so much by yourself? I'll collect some too. Yes, I'll take some too. I must be included in this matter. This opportunity doesn't come often. Deputy Director Lin, Mr. Han, and Du Wei all came over, fearing that their share would be missing. Xu Qing smiled and said, I'll sell it to anyone anyway. You guys negotiate a price and I'll sell them all. Deputy Director Lin said, I have a copper coin illustration here, take a look. I will definitely not let you suffer any loss. Xu Qing didn't care, if you want to do a one-time deal, just go ahead and cheat me. How difficult? Originally, a few people wanted to take advantage of the situation, but after hearing what Xu Qing said, they immediately stopped doing anything. Jianyang Tongbao is worth 4,000 yuan at half price. Jianyang Treasure, 3-fold seal script worth 10,000 yuan. Baoqing Yuanbao with Hanmoon Iron Mother, 500,000. Shakesing Tongbao regular script with 10-fold and spiral reading, 60,000 yuan. Same as before, how many pieces of each? Deputy Director Lin, Mr. Han, Du Wei, Fang Daqian, and Fang Siyuan also came up, and they all got busy, counting and calculating. A full 52 million yuan. So much money. Even Xu Qing himself gasped and was completely shocked. However, his face certainly didn't show anything, and he asked, "Who will pay?" "As for how you divide it, that's your business." "I paid." Du Wei was the owner of the auction house. He transferred the money to Xu Qing on the spot and said with a smile, "Little brother, I don't know your name yet." Xu Qing said, "My name is Xu Qing." "Xiaoshu, look, do you want to sell this bag? I'll give you 100,000 yuan. Bag? This old guy." Deputy Director Lin, Mr. Han and Fang Daqian finally came to their senses and stared at the bag again and again. This is a very simple woven bag, but there is a picture embroidered on it. There are two vendors carrying loads on their shoulders. They wear scarves on their heads, revealing their hair buns. Their tops are short shirts that do not exceed their knees, and they wear a pair of hemp shoes. With just a few strokes, it makes it come alive. Suddenly, Deputy Director Lin said in a lost voice, "This is a typical Southern Song painting. I have seen this style of painting in along the river during the Qingming festival. Yes, this is from the Southern Song dynasty." "Wow!" Old Han and Fang Daqian also exclaimed. "What copper coins? Compared with this woven bag, it's not worth mentioning at all." Snort. "Want to buy textiles from the Southern Song dynasty for just 100,000 yuan. Mr. Han directly stretched out two fingers and said loudly, "I'll give 2 million. Deputy Director Lin said, "I'll give you 5 million. I'll give you 8 million. You guys, I'll give you 10 million. Jui was really anxious. He had been thinking of taking advantage of an opportunity, but he didn't expect to be exposed by them. It's just a worn-out woven bag. Xu Qing hadn't expected it to be so valuable, so why bother with copper coins? It was often hundreds of kilograms, which made him exhausted. He hurriedly said, "Don't grab them. Aren't there still these small bags? Each bag has small patterns of bamboo, plum, orchid, chrysanthemum, etc. They can also be worth some money, right? 1 million each. Okay, deal." Dozens of small bags and one big bag were sold for more than 40 million, which is almost as valuable as those copper coins. Mr. Han, Du Wei and Deputy Director Lin all handed their business cards to Xu Qing, telling him to call them anytime if he had anything good. The prices were absolutely fair and they would never cheat anyone. Fang Daqian and Fang Siyuan didn't think much about it. This amount of food was far more than they could swallow. A full 92 million. This is a business worth hundreds of millions. Xu Qing came out of the antique shop, his heart filled with joy, and he felt that the burden on his shoulders had become heavier. Chapter 13. Military Supply Store? Military Fan? Xu Qing was very curious about Lao Wei, but he never met him. No matter what you want to buy, just give him an address and he will send someone to deliver the goods immediately, and you can check the goods and pay on the spot. Xu Qing was somewhat speechless and asked, "I have to know what you are selling, right? Don't worry about what I sell. Just tell me what you want. The price is definitely the lowest on the internet. For our first cooperation, I don't ask for much. You need to send me military blankets and mattresses, military coats, cotton boots. Place an order for 10,000 pieces of each. If possible, I will place an order for at least 30,000 pieces." Well. There was silence on the phone. Lao Wei said, "I don't have that many here at the moment. I'll send you 3,000 pieces first. You can take a look at the goods. They will arrive one after another." "Sure. It doesn't matter if it looks good or not, it has to be strong, durable and warm. I hope it can be delivered immediately." "Sure, let's meet and talk about the goods. Is this person reliable?" Now Xu Qing couldn't care less about so many things. He went to several pharmacies in succession before returning home. "I had to take medicine, plug in the electric blanket and cover myself with a quilt." Zhao Xuning finally began to sweat and felt much more energetic. He looked no different from usual. Xu Qing frowned and said, "We need to keep in touch, otherwise, I won't know what happened to you. How can we contact you? You can't get through." So, Xu Qing handed a Huawei Mate 60 Pro mobile phone to Zhao Xuning and told her how to use it, how to make calls and how to listen to music. Being able to communicate with others thousands of miles away, isn't this the legendary super hearing? Zhao Xuning walked to the other side of the wall. Xu Qing immediately dialed the number, but unfortunately, the female customer service's voice came from the phone. "The number you dialed is turned off or out of service area. Please call again later. Finished. He and Zhao Xuning should exist in two different dimensions, and even the satellite phone is useless. However, since the water pipe can pass through, what about the megaphone? This is easy. There are speakers at both ends and a steel pipe in the middle, with a bell tied inside with a wire. In theory, yes. However, when Qing put one end of the megaphone through the wall, the steel tube seemed to be twisted and deformed, and he couldn't speak at all, but the bell could be used. When he pulled it here, it jingled over there, and at least there was a connection. Why is this happening? God knows. While the medicines, military supplies, stoves and honeycomb coal had not yet been delivered, Qing inserted the 50mm aluminum plastic composite pipe into the wall. He also pushed all the PVC pipes, tees, faucets, elbows, toolboxes, sand, cement, etc. in with a flatbed cart. As for how to install, how to bury the pipes deep, how to mix cement, etc., Qing downloaded videos on his tablet computer and told Zhao Xuning how to operate and how to do it. Isn't there no water? With this water pipe, even the two wells in Lingxiao Peak are no longer needed. The water pipe can be directly connected to the inner river of Lingxiao City. When the switch is turned on here, water will flow out from there. In the future, the people of Qing Army and Lingxiao City, even the chickens, ducks, geese, dogs and cats will have water to drink. This is simply an unprecedented feat that benefits mankind, the country and the people. I believe that there will definitely be one more record in history. Some people dug the Grand Canal, some people built the Dujiangyan irrigation system, and some people released water. I don't know whether others believe it or not, but Zhao Xuning believes it. Because she had no choice. Zhao Xuning returned to Lingxiao City and summoned Pang Chong, Zhang Tingji, Shui Paifeng, Song Yangying and other generals to hold an emergency meeting. What meeting? Could it be that the Mongolian army is going to attack the city? Everyone became nervous and turned their eyes to Zhao Xuning. Zhao Xuning took a deep breath and said in a deep voice, I have a few things to do now, you guys watch this video first. Video? What is video? As these people were stunned, they saw Zhao Xuning take out a tablet, put it on the table, turn it on, light up the screen, enter the desktop, and then lightly click, and a scene of how to lay pipes, mix cement, etc. appeared. Hiss. These people all gasped. Pang Chong stammered, Princess, how did that person get in here? And the clothes he's wearing are really weird. What are these machines? This is called a tablet, and the picture shows life on the other side of the gods. What? It's worthy of being a fairy life, it's so magical. There are videos one after another, showing how to take medicine, how to use the stove, honeycomb coal, pot, and kettle. They are very detailed and clear. Everyone was stunned. Zhao Xuning asked, how is it, do you understand? I see. Zhang Tingji, you must immediately recruit a large number of bricklayers to lay the pipelines. The main pipeline will go directly to the inner river and must be laid within 3 days. All bricklayers must be guaranteed 3 meals a day and 5 copper coins a day, and the branch pipelines will be completed one after another. Yes. Zhang Tingji agreed loudly. As for the ibuprofen tablets, Lianhua capsules, cough suppressant tablets, acetaminophen tablets, azithromycin tablets and other medicines, they were all handed over to Dr. Song. He and the people in the pharmacy did not ask for anyone's help and carried the boxes of medicines back personally. Now, there are so many people suffering from colds and fevers, so they immediately set off with their medicine boxes. However, they don't quite understand which medicine to take. Take acetaminophen tablets if you have a fever. Take cough suppressants if you have a cough. These are medicines used by gods. Can such a small piece cure diseases? Dr. Song was a little bit unconvinced, but he just stared at the patient and made him take the medicine. One after another. One person after another, they never stopped. We were busy like this until 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Finally, military quilts and mattresses, cotton hats, military coats, and camouflage cotton boots were all delivered. There are 3,000 pieces of each. Pang Chong put on a military coat, camouflage cotton boots, and a cotton hat, and grinned, it's warm, too warm. Zhao Xuning said loudly, Pang Chong, this task is now handed over to you. Distribute all these supplies and tell the Qing army that everyone should work hard and they will arrive one after another. Yes. Pang Chong agreed and immediately pushed the supplies out. Ding-a-ling. Suddenly, the sound of bells rang. Zhao Xuning came over and asked, Shu Qing, the supplies have been received. Do you have anything to do? Shu Qing asked, how many female generals and female soldiers do you have? What's wrong? It's me, Shui Paifeng, Song Yangying, and 200 personal soldiers. I have some underwear, sweaters, down pants, down jackets and deerskin boots here. You can wear them when you go back. I will continue to send more. Sweater? Down jacket. These clothes are so great, so light and warm, they feel like they are nothing. Deerskin boots are soft and extremely comfortable. However, when Zhao Xuning touched the underwear, she was a little surprised and asked, what is this for? This, how to explain? Shu Qing simply downloaded the video to his tablet and let Zhao Xuning watch it herself. A playboy. Zhao Xuning's cheeks turned slightly red, and she glared at Shu Qing fiercely. Her eyes seemed to be bursting with murderous intent. Shu Qing was startled and said quickly, all women here dress like this, if you don't want it, forget it. Snort. Zhao Xuning pushed the clothes and deerskin boots back to Lingxiao City. Which woman doesn't he love beauty? You say no with your mouth, but your body is very honest. Shu Qing grinned, called Huang Rentai, and asked, Boss Huang, when will the stove, honeycomb coal, pot, and kettle I ordered be delivered? Huang Rentai smiled and said, I've asked my son Huang Wei to deliver the goods immediately. You should help him. Chapter 14. The circle is very important. Some people live in high-rise buildings, some live in deep ditches. Some people are bright and shining, while others are covered in rust. Join the circle that suits you the way you want to be. Batches of rice, flour, tons of vegetables. Who can stand this? This is definitely a big customer. After all, they are all young people, and Huang Rentai let his son Huang Wei drive the car himself to help him build some connections. Huang Wei nodded repeatedly, Dad, don't worry, I will definitely be able to get along well with Boss Shu. Okay, let's go. Yes. Huang Wei was driving a Mercedes-Benz in front, followed by several trucks. Sitting in the passenger seat was a beautiful girl with fair skin. She was wearing a very sexy tight skirt, which was very gorgeous. The low-cut neckline revealed most of her full body. Her legs were wrapped in fishnet stockings and she was wearing a pair of high-heeled shoes. She looked very feminine. She is Shu Qing's ex-girlfriend Liu Yuanyuan. The reason why I broke up with Shu Qing. On the one hand, Shu Qing's parents died in a car accident, and all of the Shu family's assets were taken away by his grandmother and uncle. Shu Qing was left with only a small store. He was a poor man with no future at all. On the one hand, Liu Yuanyuan is hooking up with Huang Wei, who is the son of the big boss of Beijiang Commercial City and has at least tens of millions of assets. Nowadays, Beijiang Commercial City has another big customer who purchases large quantities of rice, flour, vegetables, cooking oil and other supplies every day, each time worth millions, making a lot of money. Huang Wei glanced at Liu Yuanyuan and asked, Yuanyuan, have you heard my dad talk about this boss Shu? He is young, handsome and rich. If you can make him fall in love with you, you will be a phoenix on the tree. What are you talking about? She's your girlfriend. Liu Yuanyuan rolled her eyes at Huang Wei, but felt a little agitated. Okay, if you don't want to seduce Boss Shu, why are you dressed like this? Liu Yuanyuan has a tall figure, which can be described as fair skin, beautiful face and long legs. Especially her breasts and buttocks, which are round, firm and perky, she is simply the best in the world. Who cannot be moved by such a woman? After all, it was the first time they met, and Huang Wei had already planned it out. This was his gift to Boss Shu. Liu Yuanyuan didn't say anything else, but took out a mirror and looked at herself again, and even put on some makeup. She was determined to win over Boss Shu. Bitch! Just because you have money makes you the boss, there is no bottom line at all. It's okay to play with a woman like this, but you will lose if you take it seriously. Huang Wei sneered in his heart and drove all the way to the Xinguang store on Xingfu Road. Now, the sign of the car wash has been taken down, the gate has been closed, and the roller shutter of the Xinguang convenience store has also been pulled down. Huang Rentai had already reminded them that every time they came to make a phone call, they just had to open the rolling door and push the carts in. Huang Wei immediately made a phone call. Click. The rolling door was pulled down. Deliver goods. There were 3 people on each truck, two of them were carrying items down from the truck, and one was pulling the cart into the store. Everything was in order. Stoves, honeycomb coal, pots, and kettles, 10,000 each. There were rows of carts lined up in the store, which looked quite spectacular. Huang Wei and Liu Yuanyuan exchanged glances and walked into the store together. Well, it is more like a huge warehouse than a small store, empty and with nothing in it. Xu Qing was bending over, fiddling with the light box and plaque of Qing Supermarket. There were also two solar panels next to it, which he would hand over to Zhao Xuning later. Tonight's evening party, Qing Supermarket, would be officially open for business. Boss Xu. Huang Wei walked over and said with a smile, I'm from Beijiang Trade City. My father is Huang Rentai. He asked me to come here to deliver the goods. Xu Qing was busy and didn't even raise his head. Okay, sit down for a while, we'll talk later. Huang Wei gave Liu Yuanyuan a look. Liu Yuanyuan coughed lightly, walked to Xu Qing's side with 3 steps, and said delicately, Boss Xu, I'm a little thirsty, won't you buy us a glass of water? There's mineral water in the corner. Liu Yuanyuan. Chapter 15. Xu Qing. Xu Qingxian stood up and was immediately surprised. Liu Yuanyuan was even more shocked. She screamed, why are you here? Tell me, have you been following me? I'm following you? Don't be so self-indulgent here. Liu Yuanyuan seemed to have caught Xu Qing's handle and shouted, Brother Wei, don't be fooled. He is not Boss Xu. He is my ex-boyfriend, but a poor bastard. What? Ex-boyfriend? Huang Wei was stunned for a moment and asked, What's your ex-boyfriend's name? Liu Yuanyuan said bitterly, Xu Qing. Isn't that Boss Xu? He is Xu Qing. Is Xu Qing the Boss Xu who has assets worth hundreds of millions? Is Xu Qing the Boss Xu that Liu Yuanyuan wants to throw herself into his arms? Impossible. Absolutely impossible. Liu Yuanyuan screamed, Xu Qing, you are just a stray dog, stop playing tricks here. Xu Qing frowned and said, Huang Wei, the people you brought are so noisy. Bang. Huang Wei reacted very quickly and slapped Liu Yuanyuan hard on the face. Very hard. Very loud. Liu Yuanyuan covered her red and swollen face with her hands, she was stunned by the beating. Huang Wei angrily shouted, Bitch! Who told you to yell and scream? Did you slander Boss Xu as well? Get out. Huang Wei was completely scared. Huang Rentai repeatedly stared at him and told him to build a good relationship with Xu Qing. But what about now? He actually brought Xu Qing's ex-girlfriend with him. Isn't this just making things difficult for her? Huang Wei pointed at Liu Yuanyuan, his eyes revealing a fierce look. Liu Yuanyuan was also a little scared. She thought, just leave, no big deal. However, after leaving the Xinhuang store, she immediately hid herself and secretly filmed there with her mobile phone. One cart after another was carrying stoves, honeycomb coals and other things into the store. Not long after, Huang Wei came out, nodded and bowed, got into the car and went back. Xu Qing looked around and closed the rolling door with a click. Regret. Hate it. She had always dreamed of marrying into a wealthy family and becoming a rich wife, but she never expected that she would miss out on the wealthy family even when it was right in front of her. No, we can't just let this go. Liu Yuanyuan immediately ran back home and told Liu Zhankui and He Guizhi about it, crying, Wow, Xu Qing has hundreds of millions of assets, and he cheated us all. What? How is this possible? Really? I've already found out everything. As for the previous incident at Chimelong Hotel, it was because Xu Qing had deposited 1 million yuan at Chimelong Hotel, and the hotel gave him a super VIP card. Now, Beijiang Trade City delivers supplies to Xinhuang store almost every day, and each time it is hundreds of thousands, or even millions. Liu Yuanyuan showed them the video of the delivery of supplies and complained, It's all your fault. If I hadn't torn up the engagement, I would have married Xu Qing by now. Where did he get so much money? It must have been left to him by his parents. It's okay, just wait. As long as you two have sex, or you get pregnant with his child, all the money will be ours. He Guizhi, Liu Zhankui and Liu Yuanyuan looked at each other and laughed wickedly together. Chapter 16. Liu Yuanyuan? In Xu Qing's eyes, it has long become a thing of the past.
Now, all Xu Qing's thoughts were focused on Zhao Xuning, the Qing army, and the people of Lingxiao city. He would not let them be massacred by the Mongolian army at all costs. The rolling door was closed. Xu Qing pushed carts of stoves, honeycomb coal, pots, and kettles into the wall. Zhao Xuning, Shui Paifeng, Song Yangying and others had been waiting here for a long time, and immediately distributed the stoves and honeycomb coal. As for the pots and kettles, Zhao Xuning had them all stored in the supermarket. If they were distributed blindly, it would probably cultivate the laziness of the people. You work for me and I pay you. You use your money to buy things in my supermarket, and I purchase the supplies. This is a true virtuous cycle. However, these 10,000 stoves and honeycomb coals were put to good use. The weather was very cold, and many people went to the porridge factory to get porridge. At night, wrapped in quilts and warmed by the stove, they finally felt a little warmth in winter. This is all brought by God. The common people of Lingxiao city spontaneously came out of their homes and flocked to Qingning supermarket. What's going on? It was clearly dark, but the plaque of Qingning supermarket could be seen from afar. It had a white rectangular background with green and blue borders on the top and bottom respectively, and in the middle were 4 large characters, Qingning supermarket. The strokes were strong and thick, and the momentum was solemn and vigorous. This was Pyongyang style, bright and shiny, and very eye-catching. How can it glow? It's too bright. Wow, much brighter than an oil lamp. More and more people gathered. Soon, thousands of people gathered in front of the Qingning supermarket, and ordinary people were walking in one after another. They were just craning their necks to look at the plaque, just like looking at a god, with indescribable surprise and awe in their eyes. Liu Hater and Hu Liu were also mixed in the crowd and were dumbfounded. Are there really gods? From rice to flour, pork, we were given stoves, honeycomb coal, and quilts tonight. It all felt like a dream. A team of Ninged army soldiers stood around, with solemn expressions and eyes not looking away, as if they would not frown even if Mount Tai collapsed before their eyes. Zhao Xuning slowly walked to a platform. She was wearing a slim-fitting white down jacket and a pair of deerskin boots. She had red lips and white teeth, a face as rosy as peach blossoms, and skin as delicate as snow. Under the light, she looked like a banished fairy, breathtakingly beautiful. The scene was so quiet that you could hear a pin drop. Zhao Xuning's eyes slowly swept across everyone's face, and he said in a deep voice, "People of Qingning army and Lingxiao city, you may all know that since 1235, when Ojide Khan ordered an attack on the Song dynasty, hundreds of thousands of Mongolian troops launched a full-scale attack on the southern Song dynasty from the Huai River in the east to the front line of Bashu in the west, until now in 1287. Under the attack of the Mongolian army, our Song dynasty capital Linan was captured. The Battle of Yushan caused Lu Xiufu to jump into the sea with Emperor Zhao Bing on his back. Many loyal officials followed him, and 100,000 soldiers and civilians jumped into the sea to die for their country. Fancheng, Shishitan, Chanju, Jingjiang, Xinhua, all of them were massacred, leaving no one alive. Now, only Lingxiao city is still struggling. We have been besieged and attacked for 9 years. We have run out of food, grass roots and tree bark. Even the 2 wells in Lingxiao Peak are almost dry. Tell me, how desperate we were at that time. How many family members were killed by the Mongols? How many family members starved to death? How many family members were swollen to death by the Guanyin soil? All of this was caused by the Mongolian army. We want to avenge our families." Zhao Xuning raised his arms and shouted, "Revenge for our families!" The Qingning army shouted, "Revenge for our families!" All the common people were so excited, their eyes filled with tears, and they started shouting, "Swear to defend Lingxiao city until death! Swear to defend Lingxiao city until death!" One sound after another. Sentence by sentence. The sound shook the world. Even Liu Hater waved his fists and shouted. Zhao Xuning pressed his hands together, and after everyone quieted down, he said loudly, "I want to say that we are different now. We have the protection of the gods, food, clothes, stoves. Look." Zhao Xuning pointed. Song Yangying, who was at the entrance of the alley, immediately let out a low cry. Shui Paifeng, who was standing by the wall, immediately pulled the bell. Xu Qing, who was standing next to the power switch, immediately turned it off. Chapter 17. Wow! A column of water suddenly rushed out from the roof of Qingning supermarket, and the water poured down, instantly forming a rain curtain,
as if covering the entire Lingxiao city.
A drop of rain. 10 drops of rain. Countless raindrops fell on people's heads, and everyone cheered. God is clearly working. God is clearly working. God is clearly working. Plop.
A man knelt on the ground.
2 people, 3 people.
In just a moment, a large crowd of people knelt down on the open ground. Even the soldiers of the Qing army knelt on the ground and bowed their heads in worship. Zhao Xuning said coldly, "Starting tomorrow, everyone will work together to defend the city. Some will forge iron, some will repair the city walls, and some will transport supplies. Everyone will be busy and will be paid daily."
"Thank you, Princess."
"Thank God." Everyone cheered in unison, and finally dispersed one after another.
Who dares to come?
Even if they were to face the Mongolian army now, these people would not have any fear. Liu Hater, Hu Liu and a few others came to a courtyard where bags of brown rice were piled up, which was a waste of money.
"Close the door."
Liu Hater said in a deep voice, "I called you guys here to tell you something. We should get rid of these brown rice as quickly as possible and see if we can buy it from Qingning supermarket and sell it somewhere else.
How much money can you make?"
Hu Liu was very disdainful and laughed, "Brother Liu, now the Mongolian Jinan King Tuowan has led an army of 300,000 and has arrived at Lingxiao city. He may attack the city at any time. I have already contacted Zhang Wenhu, a surrendered general of the Song dynasty.
Now it's up to you."
Liu Hater asked, "Why are you looking at me?" Zhang Wenhu said that if you hand over the secret passage leading to Lingxiao city, you will be rewarded with 100 taels of silver, promoted to a higher position, and even given the title of deputy commander.
What's the meaning?
Liu Hater's face suddenly turned dark and he angrily asked, "Hu Liu, do you want to be a spy for the Tartars?" Hu Liu laughed and said, "You can't say that. The Song dynasty is finished now. How long can the few people in Lingxiao city hold out? I tell you, the Jinghu Xuanfu envoy Zhu Sison is on his way to Lingxiao city. When the time comes, no one in Lingxiao city will be able to survive. No one will be left alive."
"Who?"
Zhu Sai's grandson. He was the former commander-in-chief of the Song army who was in charge of the construction of Lingxiao city, but he had already surrendered to the Tartars. Liu Hater's heart skipped a beat and he cursed, "I have killed people, eaten human flesh and drank human blood, and done all kinds of evil things, but I hate people who betray their own people the most.
What do you want?"
Hu Liu took 2 steps back in fear.
"What do you think? You brought this upon yourself."
Liu Hater drew out his long sword, his eyes fierce.
Clang.
Several people following Liu Hater also drew their swords and asked, "Brother Liu, should we kill him?"
"Kill him."
"Good." The man agreed, stabbed Liu Hater's body with a knife, and kicked Liu Hater to the ground. Blood spurted out immediately.
Hu Liu grinned and said, "Liu Haizi, you never thought you would end up like this, did you? Now I'll give you 2 choices.
Either you hand over the secret passage, or we'll send you off right now." Those men also gathered around, and the blades of their swords glowed coldly under the light of the oil lamps.
"Hey hey!"
Liu Hater smiled ferociously and pounced on several people like a wild beast.
Chapter 18. Gods and Fairies.
Zhao Xuning stretched out his hand and pointed, and rain fell from the sky as if by divine help. In fact, it was all because Pang Chong was hiding on the roof holding the water pipe in both hands, but no one saw him. This move was thought up by Xu Qing, and it is more than just good.
That's pretty good. Very good. Very good.
2 stoves have been lit in the mansion now. The honeycomb coals inside are burning red, and a kettle is placed on top, so there is no feeling of cold at all. As soon as Zhao Xuning came in, she took off her down jacket, revealing the tight sweater underneath. Her curvy figure, slender waist, flat belly, and full chest were so clearly visible that the maid next to her couldn't help but glance at her sideways. Shui Paifeng and Song Yangying were the same, and couldn't help asking, "Princess, your figure is so perfect, what are you wearing?"
"You all have."
Several women came into the inner room. Zhao Xuning took out the bra and measured it on the chests of the 2 people. It was much more convenient to put it on and hold it up like this than using a tube top, and it also showed off a woman's figure better.
"Wow."
Shui Paifeng and Song Yangying couldn't help it and put them on immediately. They were comfortable, close-fitting and breathable.
"This is really good stuff,"
Shui Paifeng exclaimed. "But, if we dress like this, won't it attract other men's attention? Song Yangying was relatively conservative, and a little nervous and uneasy. What's the big deal? If anyone dares to look at me, I will chop him down with a knife. Shui Paifeng just laughed and didn't care. Zhao Xuning clicked on the tablet video several times. Look. In the video, a beautiful woman explains how to dress and how to walk. Her postures are elegant and she exudes confidence. On the streets, there are many beautiful women wearing low-cut short skirts, showing their long legs and high heels, looking quite pleasing to the eye. Is this possible? Song Yangying's face turned red all the way to her ears. The scene changed. This is on the beach. There are many beautiful women in bikinis. Some are basking in the sun, some are surfing in the sea, and some are playing beach volleyball. They are enjoying life to the fullest. Not only Song Yangying and Shui Paifeng, but even Zhao Xuning are embarrassed. Shameless. Obscene. It's so shameless. Zhao Xuning quickly turned off the tablet, her face flushed and her heart began to pound. Shui Paifeng asked, Princess, you have been to the world of gods. Tell us what it is like. How to say it? Zhao Xuning had been there before, but she was only confined to the Xinguang store. It was as if there was an invisible wall blocking other places, and she couldn't go out at all. What's the use of me saying it myself? I'll ask Xu Qing to download some videos later, and you can watch them for yourselves. Shui Paifeng asked, who is Xu Qing? Is he a god? For an ordinary man, how could he think about bras, underwear and the like? That's a playboy. Zhao Xuning snorted twice. When she thought of Xu Qing carrying her to the bed, a hint of coldness appeared in her eyes. Report. Suddenly, a female soldier came running over and knelt on one knee. Princess, a commoner came over and said he has something urgent to report. Zhao Xuning's face straightened and he said coldly, let's go and take a look. Chapter 19. After a few people tidied themselves up and came out of the inner room, they saw a man covered in blood kneeling at the door, and the ground was stained red. Pang Chong stood beside him, holding a knife to his neck. There were also some personal soldiers on both sides, with their swords drawn and their eyes staring at him fiercely. Zhao Xuning asked, what's going on? I, Liu Hater, pay my respects to Her Royal Highness the Princess. Explain. Before, I was a construction officer under the rebel general Zhu Sison, supervising the construction of Lingxiao City. Just now, I received an extremely urgent message. Zhenan King Tuohuan led 300,000 Mongolian troops and stationed at the foot of Lingxiao City. They have not attacked the city because they are waiting for Zhu Sison. Why are you waiting for Zhu Sison? Zhao Xuning's heart sank rapidly, as if she had sensed something. Liu Hater knelt on the ground and gritted his teeth, saying, because, when Zhu Sison built Lingxiao City, he left a secret passage that leads directly from the foot of the mountain to Lingxiao Palace. Boom! This news was like a bolt from the blue, hitting Zhao Xuning, Shui Paifeng, Pang Chong and others in the head, shocking the nerves of all of them. Song Yangying's face turned pale as paper, and she murmured, how could it be, how could it be? Evil words to confuse the people. Pang Chong pressed down the knife in his hand and said angrily, I will chop you into pieces right now. Liu Hater knew that he would die one day, so he stood straight without even frowning. Stop. Zhao Xuning was very calm, because she had heard from Xu Qing that it would take at most a month for the Mongolian army to capture Lingxiao City, and the Qiang army and the people of Lingxiao City would all die for their country. It turned out that the problem lay with Zhu Sison. Perhaps no one knew Lingxiao City better than him. Zhao Xuning stared at Liu Hater and asked, why are you covered in blood? It's like this. Liu Hater did not hide anything and told everything about Hu Liu, Tuohuan, and Zhu Sison. He was not a good person, but he would not do such a thing as selling out his country for glory. Although he was stabbed, he was fierce and killed Hu Liu and his men. Liu Hater said, Your Highness, I know the secret passage. Zhao Xuning shouted, come here, bandage his wounds. We will rush to the secret passage in half an hour. I'm fine. Liu Hater was indeed ferocious. He struggled to get up and limped out. Pang Chong, Zhang Tingji and others looked at Zhao Xuning, Your Highness. Zhao Xuning waved his hand, and the group and Liu Hater mounted their horses and soon arrived at the Lingxiao Palace on the top of Lingxiao Peak. Not far away were the two wells. Lingxiao Palace is a Taoist temple, but it has fallen into disrepair for many years. Praying for rain, warding off disasters, and protecting the home are no longer useful. The statue of Emperor Zhenwu enshrined in the palace is now in tatters and looks a bit desolate. There is also a well in the corner of the yard, but it has dried up long ago, and there is a sealing stone on the well cover. Liu Hater stood by the well and said in a deep voice, "This is it." "You mean, the bottom of the well leads to the bottom of Lingxiao City?" "Yes." Liu Hater used both hands to move the stone that sealed the well, then he took out a rope from his waist, tied one end to a big tree and let the other end hang down to the bottom of the well. "Who knows if there is any danger?" Pang Chong pushed Liu Hater aside, grabbed the rope with both hands, and reached the bottom of the well in no time. There is actually a deep, dark secret passage here, which gives people a cold and chilly feeling. He opened the tinder, walked forward for a distance, walked further and further down, and finally walked back. He said solemnly, "Princess, there really is a secret passage here. Let's seal it off immediately. No hurry, send a few people to guard here, I'll go back and think of a solution." "Yes." Zhao Xuning went back to find Xu Qing without any hesitation. Chapter 20. The situation in Lingxiao City is more serious than imagined. However, Xu Qing has made the people of Lingxiao City believe in the existence of gods by releasing the water. Zhao Xuning stretched out her hand and pointed, and rain fell from the sky, like a myth. In the eyes of the Qing army and the people of Lingxiao City, Zhao Xuning was even more in awe, otherwise Liu Hater would not have been seriously injured and would not have come to inform the police. I can finally breathe a sigh of relief. Xu Qing lay on the bed, chatting with Lao Wei about the second batch of military blankets, coats, and cotton boots. Cash transaction. No bargaining. No nagging. The only problem is that the delivery is a bit tight, but for those merchants, this is nothing. Lao Wei promised on the spot that he was now making every effort to arrange for the goods to arrive within 2 days. As for Wang Rentai, the owner of Beijiang Trade City, it goes without saying that the remaining stoves and honeycomb coals would be in place soon. Whoosh! A gust of wind blew by. Zhao Xuning walked in and scared Xu Qing so much that he shuddered. Xu Qing smiled bitterly and said, "My dear miss, before you come here every day, can you pull the bell so that I can be mentally prepared? Don't you know that scaring people is scary? It's scary to death." Something happened. Zhao Xuning didn't care about anything else and his face looked a little serious. "What's wrong?" Xu Qing turned over and sat up. Zhao Xuning is still quite confident about Lingxiao City. Lingxiao City is surrounded by thousands of feet high cliffs on 3 sides. There is only one winding mountain road in and out, and the narrowest part is only 1 foot wide. What cavalry? What army? None of them worked. It was definitely easy to defend but difficult to attack. Otherwise, the Mongolian army would not have been able to break through after 9 years of attack. But now, there was a secret passage leading directly to the palace of Lingxiao City. Lingxiao City would no longer have any room for struggle or resistance. Zhao Xuning was also a little flustered, but she was a high-ranking figure, the spiritual pillar of the Qing army and the common people. If even she lost her composure, the entire Lingxiao City would probably be in chaos. So, she must stay calm. Xu Qing frowned and asked, "How did the Mongolian army attack you in the past?" "Generally, stone cannons are used in sieges, but our city gates are made of natural boulders. Small stone cannons are useless. The city walls are incomplete, so it is not easy for the Tatar army to attack. Therefore, this secret passage is as deadly as a deadly existence for Lingxiao City. Help me think of a way to completely destroy the secret passage." "Destroy? There shouldn't be any problem with this. However, once the secret passage is destroyed, Lingxiao City will truly become a deserted city and it will be difficult for it to develop." Zhao Xuning asked, "Then what do you think we should do?" Xu Qing moved his feet back and forth and said in a deep voice, "So, our top priority is to strengthen the city walls and upgrade the equipment. As for the secret passage, I will find a way to make the number of Tatar troops who come be reduced to the number of deaths." "City wall? Oh, can you help me get some sticky rice and lime? We are extremely short of supplies, even we don't have any weeds. Using mud to build a wall alone won't be enough to withstand the stone cannons. That's definitely not possible." Xu Qing glanced at his house and said with a smile, "What do you think of my wall? Try chopping it with your sword." Clang! A sword struck the concrete wall, leaving only a faint mark but no damage at all. Chapter 21. How is that possible? Zhao Xuning chopped several times in succession, leaving gaps on the blade, but the wall was still intact. She was so shocked that she couldn't close her mouth. Xu Qing smiled and said, "This wall is made of reinforced concrete and is very strong. I will immediately purchase a large amount of cement, bricks, steel pipes, and steel bars. As for the method, I will download the video and tell you." "That's great. Okay, tomorrow you record a video of Lingxiao City and Qingning Army for me. I want to know myself and the enemy." "Good." Zhao Xuning threw 2 large bags of copper coins on the ground. "I've spent a lot of money on quilts, clothes, and boots recently. Do you think these are enough? Copper coins?" Now Xu Qing has completely despised it. There is no need for it. Isn't there knitting and embroidery? For example, purses, sachets, paintings, calligraphy and the like are all fine. They are more valuable than copper coins. Are these things valuable? This was a very simple thing for Zhao Xuning. Which of the young ladies from wealthy families who are waiting to be married would not embroider a pair of mandarin ducks playing in the water or a dragon and a phoenix? With just a few words of instruction, they can basically master the art. However, these wealthy families have their own guards and are not short of money or food, so they don't care at all. Xu Qing smiled and said, "If you are not short of money, then you can exchange it with shampoo, shower gel, and soap. A purse and a sachet can be exchanged for a bar of soap. A picture or calligraphy can be exchanged for a bottle of shampoo or shower gel depending on its size." This. What is shampoo? Body wash? Soap? Zhao Xuning was also a little confused and had no idea what was going on. In fact, these things are available in the Green Lemon supermarket, but no one knows what they are used for or how to use them. Xu Qing asked her to wait for a moment, and he went to the supermarket to buy shampoo, shower gel, and soap. Unfortunately, the cosmetics store was closed. If he bought some lipstick, eyebrow pencil, eyeshadow, powder puff, and other things, he would have killed those young ladies in seconds. Xu Qing said, "Just untie your hair now and wash it here." "What? What's the big deal? You are now the faith of Lingxiao City, the spiritual leader, and the spokesperson of God. You have to let those ladies know how useful shampoo is." "Oh well." Zhao Xuning hesitated for a moment, and finally let her hair down. The water in Lingxiao City was so precious that she couldn't even remember the last time she washed her hair. It was already sticky. The water flowed out, and this was actually hot water. Zhao Xuning was bending over the sink. Xu Qing grabbed the pompaduk with one hand and pressed it on his hair. It felt so hot and extremely comfortable. After pouring shampoo, combing hair, and applying elastic, I finally finished washing my hair. The hair is smooth and silky and smells great. It was the first time that Zhao Xuning enjoyed such treatment. She said happily, This shampoo is so easy to use. I'm sure those ladies will like it." "That's nothing." Xu Qing filled the bathtub with hot water again, and handed her the shower gel, soap, bath towel, and pajamas. She just had to take a comfortable bath here. Zhao Xuning raised her eyebrows and said coldly, "You want me to take a bath here? What's wrong? You're the image spokesperson now, no one wants to see you." Xu Qing turned and walked out. This time, Zhao Xuning was the only one left in the bathroom. She looked at the bathtub, then at the door. After struggling for a long time, she finally took off her clothes, but still placed the sword on the edge of the bathtub. If Xu Qing dared to break in, she would stab him with her sword. Chapter 22. Zhao Xuning is taking a bath. Xu Qing was also busy. He immediately contacted Lao Wei and asked him if he knew anyone at the steel factory. He now needed several hundred tons of steel and rebar, more than 100 tons of cement, and at least 20 trucks of bricks. It's obviously a small shop, why does it need so many building materials? However, Lao Wei is doing business and is too lazy to care about so many things. He promised to help contact their Wei and try to deliver it as soon as possible. Sure enough. Xu Qing smiled and said, "Old Wei, I have a big business deal. How about we meet and talk about it?" Lao Wei was startled and asked, "Meet? You tell me what you want, and I can just deliver it to you." "No, this must be said in person." "Well, okay, let's meet at the entrance of Lao Wu Dumpling Restaurant at 7 o'clock tomorrow morning." "Good. What about the secret passage? How to defend Lingxiao City?" Lao Wei runs a military supplies store.
I wonder if he can get guns, grenades, bazookas, and other things there. 3,000 Chining troops. If everyone had an AK, or a pistol, a sniper rifle, or something like that, no matter how many people there were in the Mongolian army, they would all be shooting. The bolder the man, the more fertile the land. When hot weapons are used against cold weapons, it's like a complete buddy. It would be strange if they don't sweep the world. Xu Qing was grinning there. Zhao Xuning finally came out of the bathroom. She was still wearing a white down jacket and deerskin boots, covering herself tightly. However, her face was flushed, her skin was snow white and delicate, and she exuded a faint fragrance, as if the empress had descended, beautiful and noble. This. Xu Qing was immediately stunned and was stunned looking at Zhao Xuning. Zhao Xuning said angrily, "What are you looking at? Believe it or not, I will dig out your eyeballs and step on them like fish." This is a woman who draws her sword at any time. However, Xu Qing didn't care. He smiled and asked, "How is it? Is this shampoo, shower gel, and soap still good? It's more than just easy to use. That is quite useful. Very useful. Very useful." Her body was smooth and tender, her skin as delicate as that of a newborn baby, and there was a refreshing feeling all over her body, making her look refreshed in an instant. There are such magical things in the world. But what about Lingxiao City? There is simply no comparison. Zhao Xuning's expression darkened, and he sighed softly, "It's useful. I'm going back to Lingxiao City. If you go back like this, what if you catch a cold again? I'm going to blow dry your hair. It might make some noise, so don't react too much." Xu Qing asked Zhao Xuning to sit down and then plugged in the hair dryer. Whoosh! While the warm air was blowing, Xu Qing kept touching her hair. Her skin was white, tender and smooth, and her hair was as soft as silk. Xu Qing tried his best to stay calm. However, Zhao Xuning's heart was beating fast. She was a princess, and the people of Qining army and Lingxiao city all kept their distance from her. It could be said that Xu Qing was the first man who dared to touch her body. If it were in the past, she would have killed him with a sword without mercy. But today, Xu Qing helped her blow dry her hair, and she accepted it silently, but her face became even redder, all the way to her ears. Time passed by minute, and finally it was over. Xu Qing secretly breathed a sigh of relief and said with a smile, "Look at what's going on now. Wow! Are you done with it?" Her hair was fluffy and shiny black, cascading on her shoulders like a waterfall, making her look less noble and cold, and more pretty and charming. Zhao Xuning looked at herself in the mirror again, and she couldn't see enough. Everyone has a love for beauty. Zhao Xuning was no exception, but she lived a wealthy life in Linen for a few years before coming to Lingxiao City. She was busy with city defense, military training, public security, civil affairs, etc. every day, so she had no time to dress up. Xu Qing smiled and said, "Wait for me here." "What are you doing again?" Chapter 23. Wait for me. Xu Qing turned around and ran out. When he came back, he carried a dressing mirror and handed it to Zhao Xuning, saying with a smile, "Okay, you can go back now." Zhao Xuning was surprised and delighted. "Okay, I won't be polite with you." She returned to Lingxiao City holding the dressing mirror. It was already early morning, Shui Paifeng and Song Yangyin had not gone to bed yet, and were sitting in the room waiting for Zhao Xuning. Call. A fresh and fragrant scent drifted in, brightening the eyes of the two girls. "Princess, is it really you? You are so beautiful now, just like a fairy in a painting." Shui Paifeng and Song Yangyin have always been Zhao Xuning's personal female generals. They came from Linen together, so they are not as restrained and respectful to each other as they are to other people. Zhao Xuning placed the dressing mirror on the ground and said with a smile, "Look. There are actually two female generals in the mirror." They were startled and immediately drew their swords, blocking Zhao Xuning and shouting, "Princess, be careful, there is an assassin." Shui Paifeng held two scimitars in his hands, took a step forward, and slashed at the dressing mirror. "When?" Zhao Xuning blocked it with his sword and said with a smile, "It's you guys, not the assassins." "What? Ourselves?" "Yes, this is a dressing mirror. It's clearer than our bronze mirror. Look at the eyebrows, mouth, eyes. See if it's you." This. Shui Paifeng and Song Yangyin came over and looked at themselves in the mirror again and again. They reached out their hands, and the person in the mirror also reached out his hand.
They touch their noses, and the person in the mirror also touches his nose. Shui Paifeng asked in amazement, "Your Highness, how did you do this?"
This is something from the gods. No wonder, it's amazing.
This is the first time I look at myself like this, and I can't get enough of it.
Zhao Xuning smiled and said, "Okay, you can watch it later. I will give you a task now.
Take all the female soldiers out and call all the young ladies in Lingxia City and the clever girls over. Tell them that the gods have a will and they have something to ask.
God has given his will. God has given his will."
Normally, these young ladies waiting to be married are not allowed to show their faces in public, but now, these calls seem to have magical power, making those wealthy families send their young ladies out with piety and awe.
Who doesn't want to be protected by God?
In just over an hour, at least 100 girls gathered in the hall. They looked at each other and whispered, wondering why the gods had summoned them. Plop. Plop. Finally, Shu Qing pushed over boxes of shower gel, shampoo, and soap.
Zhao Xuning came over and shouted, "Unboxing."
Shui Paifeng and Song Yangyin went upstairs, opened a cardboard box, and took out bottles of shower gel, shampoo, and soap.
Immediately, a sweet fragrance wafted through the air.
This is a gift from God to us. Some wash their hair, some take a bath, some wash their hands and faces.
Bring the basin of water.
A basin of hot water was brought up. Zhao Xuning personally called a lady from a wealthy family to come up and wash her hair on the spot.
So soft, smooth, and fragrant.
The ladies at the scene were all stunned. Each of them tried the soap and their hands and faces smelled fragrant.
That's not all.
Zhao Xuning stretched out her hand and pointed, and Shui Paifeng pushed out the dressing mirror.
This was simply a decisive move.
The ladies stared with their eyes wide open, and my friends and I were stunned.
Zhao Xuning smiled and said, "Do you like it?
God has issued an order that any purse or sachet can be exchanged for a bar of soap. A picture or calligraphy, depending on the size, can be exchanged for shampoo and shower gel."
The scene was immediately in an uproar.
Chapter 24.
What kind of person is Lao Wei?
Shu Qing got up early and came to Lao Wu Dumpling Restaurant.
Not long after, I saw a fat man. He was wearing a baseball cap and sunglasses.
He looked mysterious, as if he was afraid of being recognized. The King of Heaven covers the earth. Old Wei came close to Shu Qing and whispered,
"Chicken stewed with mushrooms."
Shu Qing said,
"It's the Jianghu Road.
It's a brotherhood." Shu Qing didn't know whether to laugh or cry. This was the code word the two people had agreed on the phone. It was like a meeting between lurkers.
Finally, he found his comrade.
Lao Wei gave a wink, and the two of them found a seat at Lao Wu Dumpling Restaurant. Pork and sauerkraut filling, beef and green onion filling, 3 fresh filling, and leek and egg filling. Without saying anything else, Lao Wei ordered 4 plates of dumplings right away. Shu Qing didn't even eat a few, but he finished them all.
Now, his belly felt even bigger.
Lao Wei lit a cigarette and put it between his lips, and asked, "Tell me, what do you want to do with me? You run a military supply store, can you get me some AKs, bazookas, or other weapons?"
"I want 1,000 of them."
Ahem. Lao Wei coughed and stood up and walked away. "Brother, what do you want to do?
Guns are banned in our country, and there are still 1,000 of them. You want to arm your own army. This is a capital crime. Etc."
Shu Qing quickly grabbed Lao Wei and said with a wry smile, "As you know, there has been a lot of fighting over there in Camel recently. The Slipper Army, the Dog Family, the Persian Lions and other countries are besieging the Flathead Brothers. I've accepted a deal to see if I can get a batch of guns over there."
"Is that so?"
"It's so scary that I'm almost scared to death." Lao Wei finally sat down again and shook his head, saying, "These are all impossible things. Don't even think about them."
"What about gasoline? Can you get it?"
"I need 200 barrels.
Ahem."
Another violent coughing fit. Lao Wei stared at Shu Qing again and again. "Don't tell me that you plan to take this oil to Luotuor. They are the ones who produce oil." Shu Qing quickly said, "No, I need it urgently. Can you help me get it? If I hadn't seen how smooth you look, I would have suspected that you were crazy. Our country does not allow individuals or units to buy and sell gasoline and diesel without authorization. It is illegal."
"Money is not a problem, just name the amount."
Lao Wei looked around and whispered, I have a friend who runs a gas station. Let me think of a solution. It will be easy if we have gasoline. Xu Qing found a way to pour gasoline into the secret passage and sent people to watch it. Once they saw the Tatar army entering the secret passage, they would set it on fire and make sure that no matter how many of them came, there would be no more enemies left. Is it cruel? War is inherently a cruel thing. Just because Lingxia city is broken, does that mean the Tatar army is no longer cruel? Xu Qing directly placed a bank card on the table and said with a smile, "Old Wei, you have worked hard. This million will buy you some cigarettes, and help me get some telescopes, eavesdropping devices, walkie-talkies and other things." This is the real dog owner. Lao Wei's eyes narrowed into a line, and even his tone changed. "Don't worry, your affairs are my affairs. I will take care of all of this." It is indeed so. Who says money makes the devil go round? To use Xu Qing's words, money makes the devil go round. Xu Qing chuckled, "If you don't have guns, do you have a hunting rifle? Or explosives? I also need some armor that can defend against swords, bows and arrows, strong and durable, and warm. It would be even better if it could be lighter." Gar. Fortunately, Lao Wei didn't eat the dumplings, otherwise he would have choked to death. 1 million. 2 million. Chapter 25. 5 million. Xu Qing placed the bank cards one by one in front of Lao Wei, and Lao Wei's breathing became rapid. He stared at Xu Qing for 2 minutes as if he had just met him. Finally, he grabbed the bank card and whispered, "I won't ask anything and I don't know anything, but you must promise me that you will never cause trouble in the country, otherwise neither of us will survive. Don't worry, I really plan to get it to the camel. I would rather believe that I am Qin Shi Huang than believe you. Don't even think about AKS, rocket launchers, grenades, tanks, cannons, etc. However, you can get hunting rifles, up to 30 and 200 kilograms of explosives. As for armor, swords and the like, Lao Wei needs to confirm them first." It didn't take long. Lao Wei's video call came in. This was in a warehouse that specialized in selling antique weapons. On the wall hung armors, swords, spears, halberds, axes, hooks, forks, whips, maces, hammers, halberds, sickles, lances, clubs, crutch, meteors, all kinds of weapons were available. It was dazzling to look at. Xu Qing asked, "Which type of armor is the strongest?" "This kind of armor." The boss pointed to a set of armor, which was forged with high manganese steel and high carbon steel smelted using modern technology. It has good elasticity and hardness, and is paired with a warm bulletproof vest. It is equivalent to double layer protection. Not to mention swords, even bullets are not a concern. This thing is just a little expensive, costing 10,000 yuan per set. Xu Qing asked, "Do you have the sharpest sword? If you don't mind the high price, you can use special alloy steel. I have a tang sword here that can cut through iron like mud. Just give me 4,000 yuan for it. How about you chop the armor with your sword and show me? The sharpest tang sword. The strongest armor. Are you contradicting me here?" The boss smiled. He was still very confident. He put the armor on a wooden man and chopped it down with a knife. Bite. Sparks flew out, the armor was split, and a gap was opened on the blade. Finished. The chain broke. The boss laughed and said, "These armors and tang swords are rarely used. I forged them many years ago. Give me a discount. The armor is 8,000 yuan a set, and the tang sword is 2,000 yuan a piece. I want all the stock you have." "You want them all?" "I only have about 800 sets of armor and more than 1,000 swords." "Okay, if you forge better ones for me, I'll get another 3,000 sets." This is a big business. The boss was so happy that he couldn't stop smiling. These can be delivered immediately, and as for the others, they must all be in place within 7 days. Helmet. Folding crossbow, Zhuge crossbow, 8-ox crossbow, and 100,000 crossbow arrows. Divine arm bow, 100,000 arrows. There were also spears, shields, and so on, which cost Xu Qing more than 40 million yuan, not to mention hunting rifles, gasoline, and explosives. Money really doesn't last long. Fortunately, I still have 2 bags of copper coins, so I have to find a way to exchange them for money. Ding ding. The sound of bells rang. Zhao Xuning came over excitedly and threw 2 large bags to Xu Qing. "Look, are these things up to standard?" "What's this?"
Wouldn't you know if you just take a look? This is wow. Xu Qing only took a look and was immediately shocked and stunned, and then he was filled with great surprise. Chapter 26. What's in the big bag? There are handkerchiefs, sachets, purses, as well as some knitted embroidery, fans, paintings, calligraphy. There are simply too many things. Xu Qing flipped through it and was immediately happy. Good, great. That's a relief. Every day, Xu Qing has to transport so much supplies. It is not easy for one person to feed more than 40,000 people. Zhao Xuning opened the tablet, which contained a series of recorded videos. On the streets, people in Lingxiao City are busy. Some were forging iron, some were building city walls, some were mending clothes, and there were even some children patrolling the streets with wooden swords and spears. From top to bottom, the 40,000 people in Lingxiao City were all engaged in intense and orderly work. As for the Qing army, there is no need to say more. They gathered in the parade ground, where generals such as Pang Chong and Zhang Tingji, each leading a team, trained their troops. From time to time, bursts of shouts of killing could be heard. Standing on the top of Lingxiao Peak, you can see undulating mountains all around, surrounded by clouds and mist, as if it is a fairyland on earth. This is Lingxiao City now. Who would have thought that just a few days ago Zhao Xuning and the Qing army were still in despair, and the people of Lingxiao City were still waiting to die there? However, the people were all wearing tattered clothes, many of them had no shoes, and they were shivering in the cold wind. The city walls were also incomplete. If the Tatar army's stone cannons were transported here, it is very likely that Lingxiao City would be breached with a single bombardment. Xu Qing took a deep breath and asked, "How are they? Do the girls like those shampoos, shower gels, and soaps?" They like it so much that they think it's a waste of time to embroider, and even brought out vases, fans, inkstones, flower baskets and other things from home. I asked them to exchange them. Can? Xu Qing finally understood that he would have to buy more and more things in the future, and would need more and more money, and he could exchange anything. How much does a bottle of shampoo cost? A sachet? An inkstone? They are antiques. Any one of them can buy thousands of boxes of shampoo, which is a good deal. Of course, it's not just shampoo, shower gel and soap. Every day, those who go to work are given free French fries, spicy noodles, instant noodles, bread and other food. Only when they really experience it will they be willing to exchange things. Xu Qing said in a deep voice, "Go back and tell the Qing army and the common people that I am purchasing clothes in large quantities. I will make sure they are all warmly dressed, well fed, and sleep well." "Thank you, I will definitely pass on your message. I'm going to go shopping for clothes now. A military coat alone is not enough." Xu Qing ran to the Beijing City Clothing Wholesale Market, saying that he wanted to buy some cotton-padded clothes, cotton shoes, sweaters, socks, etc. The bosses all gathered around him. These were off-season goods, piled up in the warehouse and covered with dust, and no one wanted them. As long as the price is low and it is delivered to your door, no matter the size, style or model, we'll take them all. This is crazy. Xu Qing not only saved a wholesale market, but also saved the flatbed cart factory. There was no other way. Xu Qing was just one person, and he simply couldn't handle transporting so many goods every day. However, if he asked the merchants to load all the goods onto a flatbed truck and drag it to the courtyard, he would just have to push them one by one against the back wall. This would be much more convenient in terms of time and efficiency. Whoosh! Whoosh! We kept working like this until around 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and finally all the clothes were pushed over. Attention, people of Lingxiao City. Attention, people of Lingxiao City. Now, the gods have compassion on the world and have sent us cotton-padded clothes, cotton-padded shoes, and cotton-padded pants. Everyone come to Qingning Supermarket to collect them. Qingning Supermarket installed a large loudspeaker, and the sound can be heard throughout Lingxiao City. Is this a voice transmission over 1,000 miles? Now, not only ordinary people, but also people from wealthy families came, forming long queues, filling the open space in front of Qingning Supermarket. What kind of clothing is this? It feels so soft and warm to the touch. Yes, I can't bear to take it off. This fabric is thinner than silk and has fine workmanship. These cotton pants are also beautiful, look how thick they are. Chapter 27. Woo woo, I finally have shoes to wear. Everyone was extremely excited.
Especially for women and children, these cotton coats, trousers and shoes look red like fire, pink like clouds, white like snow. There are all kinds of colors, and they don't look bloated at all. They are comfortable and beautiful. As for the poor people, it goes without saying that many of them have never worn cotton clothes in their lives, let alone shoes. And the sweaters? And what about socks? Thanks to the gods for their gift, we will do our best to build temples and worship the gods. Thanks to the gods for their gift, we will do our best to build temples and worship the gods. Everyone knelt on the ground, extremely pious. Some gentry and wealthy businessmen have gathered together to discuss the donation of money and materials, and renovated the Lingxiao Hall and named it the Temple of God. As for the previous Shenwu emperor, who had never protected them, they were all smashed to pieces, and golden statues of gods were made, and incense was offered every day. God? Could Xu Qing be a god? Zhao Xuning couldn't smile at all. Now the Tatar army had gathered 300,000 troops and could break through the city at any time. By that time, the 3,000 Qing soldiers and 40,000 civilians would all be slaughtered. Whatever happens to them? We were busy like this until sunset. Ding-a-ling! Suddenly, there was the sound of bells. Zhao Xuning immediately came to the store and saw wooden boxes piled up here, filling the entire store and the yard. What's this? Xu Qing patted a wooden box and said with a smile, "This is a gift from me to your Qing army. Take a look." Zhao Xuning's heart moved, and she went up to open the box. It was a piece of ordinary-looking clothing with fleece inside, but it felt a bit heavy to the touch. She didn't know what it was. Xu Qing put the clothes on himself and said with a smile, "Come on, try stabbing me with your sword." What? Are you crazy? Don't worry about it. Just do it if I tell you to. Just think of it as me spying on you taking a bath that day. You. Clang. Zhao Xuning drew his sword and stabbed Xu Qing in the ribs. Puff. It was clearly stabbed, but there seemed to be something blocking it in front and it couldn't go in. How so? Zhao Xuning's face changed drastically. She stared at the clothes again and again. It was just pierced, but Xu Qing was not hurt at all. Xu Qing smiled and said, "How is it? Awesome, right? How is this possible? This is called a bulletproof vest. Not to mention a long sword, even a crossbow or a bow can't penetrate it. Take another look at what's inside this box." Good. Zhao Xuning opened another box and saw a piece of armor lying quietly in the box. It was dark green in color and looked solemn and majestic. Xu Qing chuckled and said, "You Qing soldiers should wear bulletproof vests inside, armor outside, and helmets. It will be difficult for the Mongolian army to hurt you. Is there anything more precious than this? This is saving lives." In an instant, Zhao Xuning's eyes turned red. She gently stroked the armor and choked with emotion, "Why are you so good to me?